Salutations! Welcome to Pod Mortem. I'm Travis Hunter, joined as always by my co-host, my sister, and my brother-in-law.
Hi, I'm Reneé Hunter Vasquez.
Hi, I'm John Paul Vasquez.
This week, we're broadcasting live from Harley & Son Grocery, discussing the 1988 horror film, Pumpkinhead. This film was directed by Stan Winston from a screenplay by Mark Patrick Carducci and Gary Girani, based on a poem of the same name by Ed Justin. With a prolific background in special effects, Winston and his team crafted an indelible creature for this 1980s feature. Anchored by an inventive folk tale and the emotionally grounded performance of Lance Henriksen, Pumpkinhead would rise above its poor box office performance to spawn a multimedia franchise and become a cult classic. This film was suggested to us by friend of the show, Macy McDonald. We'd like to thank Macy for her continued support of the show, as well as this suggestion. So, Pumpkinhead, what were your first impressions on the film?
I remember seeing this really young, and I remember the second movie more than I do the first one.
Okay.
I do remember liking the second one. I don't know if I want to say better than the first one. So watching it for the show, it was kind of a semi-fresh watch because I did remember some bits and pieces, but I didn't remember how everything played out.
Okay.
But I do remember enjoying the movie when I was younger. And I did enjoy it again for the show. So I think I still do like it.
Did you enjoy it as much? Was it like nostalgia?
No, because like I said, I think I've watched the second one more than I have the first one.
Okay.
So the things that I was expecting to happen was like, oh no, this isn't that. This isn't that one. I was like, so, but not saying that this one's bad or anything. I did enjoy this one a lot, but yeah, watching it as, like I said, kind of a fresh watch, I did enjoy it. I was like, all right. Like I said, there was little bits and pieces I remembered, but not enough for me to be like, oh shit, for things to be ruined. But no, yeah, I did enjoy the movie.
I would count this as a first watch. I know we did watch it as kids.
Yes.
I'm sure you're going to tell the story of what happened when we watched it.
I can't not tell the story.
Okay, so I'll leave you to tell that story.
Okay.
When I think Pumpkinhead, I think of that experience. I don't think of the movie. I didn't remember anything about the movie. So I liked it. I really was impressed by the creature design and the effects. I even kind of like this cautionary folk tale vibe. Like I'm down for all of that. I think some of the acting maybe wasn't, the strongest that I've ever seen. But I feel like you hear the title Pumpkinhead and this is what you're going to get. I think that what you get your ticket for, that's exactly what you cannot be disappointed.
Right.
I was honestly surprised at what we got.
What? Oh, the fact that...
Well, look.
Okay, I guess that's...
Here's the deal, all right? If you tell me, you're like, hey, there's this film made in 1988.
Right.
It's called Pumpkinhead.
Uh-huh.
It's a B movie.
Right.
It's a B horror movie.
You expect a
And I'm like,
Pumpkinhead.
oh shit, it's going to be a guy with a pumpkin head.
Yeah,
And he's
Ichabod
gonna
Crane.
be, yeah.
He's
going to be killing camp people.
Right.
Campers, I think.
Camp people is fucking...
Yeah. But what I did not expect was a sobering meditation on fucking grief and
vengeance.
And the morality and the struggle.
You know what? I'm selling it short. You're absolutely right.
Because I was like, hold on.
Well, there is a turning point in the film that I did gasp audibly because I was not expecting it.
No, and I 100% agree.
B horror has everything.
There's more to offer than people think.
That's true. I think the point I was trying to make was you're not going to sit down and watch a movie called Pumpkinhead and expect Hereditary.
Right.
And this is not Hereditary.
No.
But there is more kind of under the surface. That is a very good point. Because I was like, okay.
Yeah, more than I ever expected. But I count myself in with both of you because, like Nay had said, there was a story that had happened when we were children.
Okay.
And all I remember is the fact that we were watching Pumpkinhead when it happened.
Oh, all right.
Because I do not remember anything from this film.
No.
Basically a first-time watch.
But it was the trauma. I think.
What happened was we were all sitting down in the living room. It was the apartment in Germany.
Yeah.
And I still can't explain it. And this is coming from the resident Shaniac.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea how to fucking explain this.
Right.
But we're sitting there, and the movie's just going, whatever's happening, because I don't remember shit. But the front door just bursts open.
Yeah.
Like, with a force.
Yeah.
And it hits the wall, and everybody kind of freaks the fuck out.
Yeah.
It was terrifying.
It was terrifying, and it overshadowed
Yeah, that's all.
anything.
I know
I
that.
don't want to watch this movie no more.
Yeah, the night I watched Pumpkinhead, I got the shit scared out of me.
Yeah,
I know
that's
that, but it wasn't
that
necessarily
was-
from the movie.
Yeah, and there was no one there. Like, nobody kicked the door open and ran up the
Yeah.
stairs or anything.
I remember the
Nothing.
time, this is off topic, but the electricity went out in that apartment and then it was loading back. And I don't know if it was the
like,
VCR or whatever
yeah.
said, we thought it said Lord. And so
It said
we were
it said-
terrified.
it
And
said
our dad's like, it says load. Like, calm
He's like, you
the
need to
fuck
chill
down."
out. Well, we thought that it was like a demon or something.
Obviously.
And even the VCR is like, Lord. You guys are fucked. I'm glad I'm just a machine. But I did want to call out because you mentioned the creature design.
Yes.
And the creature design is on point in this film.
Yeah, and the
Oh, no, yeah.
evolution.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I can explain why, because Stan Winston, who directed this film, and I think he co-wrote the story of it because he did a lot of rewrites once it came to him. His background is special effects makeup.
Yeah.
And so he's actually like prolific.
it comes
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. I think in his career, he won 4 Oscars.
Damn.
He worked for, Carpenter,
Yeah.
Cameron, Spielberg.
Nice.
Like, he was fucking about it.
Yeah.
But it was, and I read this in Mondo Digital because they did an interview with Gary Girani, the co-writer.
Right.
But Winston, I guess, was doing second unit directing on Aliens. And they were kind of thinking of giving this project to him just as the special effects guy.
Right.
But then with his newfound, I guess, interest in possibly directing when he's doing the second unit stuff,
Yeah.
he's like, I will gladly do the special effects for this, but I get to direct it.
Yeah.
And so they said, it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's not that much of a risk. And so they gave him a shot to do it. But it was actually his workshop that did the special effects, that people working there.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I will just be the director. You guys, this is your
Yeah.
film.
How cool.
And from what I hear, because he unfortunately, I think, passed away in 2009.
Yeah.
But he seemed like one of the coolest motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I was going to say time and time again, all I saw in videos that I watched, all that I read was how much fun everybody had.
Yes.
And how he really
Oh, I
cultivated
bet.
this atmosphere of just good vibes.
Yeah. See, that goes back to Evil Dead.
Right.
I know Sam was beating the shit out of Bruce, but he was having fun. And
at the
Bruce
end of the
was
day-
loving taking it. He's
That's all that
like,
matters,
can
really.
you drop that tree on me? He's like, yeah. He's like,
I think my thing is that what I love is how fucking dark this film actually gets.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But knowing that they're having a blast.
Yeah.
Doing it kind of counteracts.
No.
They're like, ah,
Now let's get back to Now, before we right this film's wrongs, we would like to issue a warning for spoilers. Podmortem is a very in-depth podcast, and in thoroughly discussing horror films, we have no choice but to spoil a thing or two. If you don't wish to be spoiled, please go watch the film, then come back and enjoy the show. If you've already seen the film or don't care about spoilers, let's seek revenge. So the film begins with ominous and dramatic music as the opening credits appear, surrounded by a glowing orange haze. Through flames, we get the title, Pumpkinhead, and we slowly press into the flames as the credits continue.
the title card was great.
No, it was great.
I was like, I'm already fucking in.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is, as the person who had to write the script this week, this went on for a very long time.
Yeah.
I had no problem with that.
My next note is these are the longest opening credits I've ever seen in my
No
life.
joke. I was like, oh, you're going to give them credit too? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. No, that's
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah. Oh, craft services. Great.
And
Fantastic.
Yeah. What?
And even with that, the runtime is so short.
Yeah.
It is. I wonder if it was to reach
Yeah,
Right,
to kind
right.
of pad it
Maybe.
out.
the runtime. Also,
Because I was like, God damn. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still.
it was enough to comment on.
Yeah.
But seeing it open with a very close-up shot of flames,
Right.
considering what we see in the film,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
that is pretty interesting.
It's just funny because these credits are just going on and on and on, but the music is so intense. The music's
Yeah.
like, just wait,
Oh, yeah.
just hold on.
We'll get to it. But we transition to a farm under the blue light of a late evening. On-screen text reads 1957 as the camera pans across cornfields and a scarecrow. In a nearby cabin, Tom Harley, played by Lee DeBrew, loads his shotgun and snaps it closed, peering around the room with anxious eyes. Lee DeBrew has been a character actor in a lot of films. He's a very small role here, but he was in Chinatown with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, shit.
I think he played a police officer, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
But there's like people that pop up in this that have surprising, I don't want to say lineages, but filmographies, because there's someone that pops up later that doesn't even have a line, but she fucking killed it like 40 years ago. It's like, I don't understand. It's just so strange. But Tom looks over to Ellie and Eddie Harley, his wife and son, played by Peggy Walton Walker and Chance Michael Corbett, respectively. You might remember Chance Michael Corbett. We just talked about him. He's Laddie from The Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I did not even catch that.
This kid was killing it.
The super important character of Laddie. That definitely made sense to everyone.
That was completely explained.
How the fuck could I forget?
Yeah, man. But Eddie looks over to his father nervously, but Ellie, who is kneeling with him at the side of the bed, tells him to just say his prayers. Eddie asks God to bless his parents and the farm before climbing into bed as Tom and Ellie exchange a look. Tom throws on his coat and heads outside. I do want to call out immediately the lighting.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The orange glow of the lanterns in the house and then the blue of the night.
Yeah.
It's great work. But as soon as Tom leaves, Eddie lurches up in bed, asking his mother what's wrong with his father. Ellie tells him that it's nothing and says to just go to sleep. But outside, Tom snags something from his truck while looking over his shoulder the entire time with the wind howling around him. Ellie then watches from the window as Tom leads a horse into the barn, which I don't know why, in retrospect, with what we learn about what's going on, it is kind of funny that he's like, this horse shouldn't be out here.
The horse doesn't need to see us. We don't want to traumatize the horse.
No.
Yeah.
We still gotta get to town.
Yeah.
We can traumatize our child.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But Ellie closes the shutters as Tom heads back into the cabin and boards up the door. She asks him if it'll be all right or if she should be afraid. But before he can even answer, the music explodes as we see the silhouette of a man running for his entire life down a nearby hill.
I'm like, yeah, you probably should be afraid.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
If that man is any indication.
No.
But when the man turns around to check if anything is gaining on him, we see that it's Clayton Heller, played by Dick Warlock.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. We talk about this dude constantly.
Yeah.
But very unearthly noises echo around Clayton, so he continues hoofing it through the trees. There were also bird noises, so I guess some were earthly.
Yeah.
Some weren't.
Don't want to give you the wrong idea. But the Harleys sit inside, almost in wait, logs burning in the fireplace.
I'm like, can you at least cover the kids' ears?
Yeah. Like you can tell something's wrong.
Yes.
It is scary as fuck out there, and you guys are acting cagey. The kid's just like,
Yeah.
it's like, protect him.
So would you lie to your kid?
What do you mean?
Like, they're just like, oh, nothing, go to bed.
No, I'd be like, you need to listen to what I'm saying, and some shit's about to go down. But you stay in bed.
No matter what you hear.
You're safe. The horse is safe. We're going to be fine.
But the almost like eerie calmness of the cabin contrasts with Clayton running his ass off outside, hopping a fence, and getting the piss scared out of him by the Harley's scarecrow. He continues crawling through the cornfield, but is suddenly grabbed by unseen hands. He's pulled away for a moment, emitting a very high-pitched wail before breaking free and continuing on with one busted leg. He finally reaches the cabin door and bangs on it, begging to be let inside. He asks for Tom specifically, saying that it's Clayton Heller and that it's gonna get him.
Tom said, my name's Paul. This shit's between you. Don't be knocked. I have a child in here.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, desperate times.
And don't go bothering my horse.
Yeah,
That's true. It's like, can I ride your horse away to freedom?
No.
No, you may not.
The horse is also asleep. I think the thing that got me is that the idea of this man running for his life and stopping here, you think he's just a random house or whatever, but he's like, Tom Harley.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Tom said, not tonight.
No.
Tom's not here, man. But Eddie lies wide awake in bed while Tom looks over to Ellie. Ellie tells him that they can't just sit here and let this happen, but yeah, Tom isn't budging at all.
Yeah.
and he tells his wife that this has nothing to do with them. Clayton asks what kind of Christian Tom is if he's not going to let him inside, but Tom doesn't care.
The kind that saved his family. Yeah.
We don't need to bring God into
No. That's a big book, too.
He's taking care of us, you see? That's why we're inside.
He gave us a
Get
board.
away. Yeah. Get away from the door.
But Ellie pleads with her husband, but when Eddie starts looking fearful, Tom tells her to just go take care of him. Eddie asks why his dad won't let the man in, but Ellie says that they just can't. Tom gets up, though, shotgun in hand, and approaches the door. He tells Clayton to leave him and his family alone, but Clayton begs for help, saying that it's coming, and also that he didn't kill that girl.
What was that last thing you said?
Yeah.
What makes me laugh?
I'm kind of thinking that you did kill that girl.
Pretty sure you were a little too defensive.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about that.
Tom goes, I don't know anything about that,
What?
and I don't want to.
None of my
That's
business.
right.
None of my business. But he does extend sympathies towards Clayton's current predicament, but he reminds him that he has his shotgun handy and tells him to get away before he has to use it. Lightning flashes outside, and Clayton stares into impending doom as his eyes grow wide. Instead of answering Tom, he just begins to crawl away from the front door. It makes me laugh because he told him to get away, but when Clayton doesn't answer, Tom leans towards the door like, hello, Dale. Like I was fucking talking to you.
Wait, did he answer me? I couldn't hear that.
Like, you got what you wanted. Take the W, Tom.
He's like, it shouldn't have been that easy.
Yeah, he's like, he's going to break in or something. But back outside, I guess the Harley's porch is right next to a cliff of some kind because Clayton tumbles down quite far and he lands in a puddle of water. He drags himself up, but in very quick cuts, he is grabbed by a creature that we don't really get a good look of, and the slashing and thrashing commences. Eddie gets out of bed to walk towards the window, and no, I don't know where his parents are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They were very clear.
Yeah.
Y'all are all in the same room.
Yeah.
So we thought. It's a big cabin, I guess.
Keep him away from the windows.
But through the window in the blue haze of the night, he sees the silhouette of the large creature holding Clayton's body. His mouth falls open in horror. So one thing I did learn on Stan Winston's website is when they were designing the creature, they started with the silhouette first
All right.
because they're like, if this doesn't work, then why continue?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you look at it, I mean, again, with my idea of what I thought Pumpkinhead was going to be,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a gore fest.
Yeah.
You're going to see this fucking creature constantly.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of silhouetted shots.
Right.
So it's very important.
Yeah.
And I understand that they did work on aliens. Pumpkinhead's pretty xenomorph-like.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so there was some clear influence, and there's a lot of drool later that weekend.
Yeah.
No tiny mouth, but quite a
Right.
bit of drool. But I think that once we get to see the creature fully, it's just fantastic work.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
great.
But now, in present day, we see an adult Eddie, now credited as Ed Harley, played by Lance Henriksen, who is also in Aliens.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're just grabbing all the people.
I'm like, that sounds about right. So this transition was very swift,
Yes.
Yeah.
and we're kind of already like imbrued with this knowledge of this experience that Ed had when he was a child. Plus, to me, again, having not seen this really before, I'm like, this creature was specifically after this dude.
Yes.
He didn't come for the Harleys. He didn't even bother the horse. He specifically came for Clayton's ass.
Yes.
Right.
And Clayton made it a point to be like, I didn't kill that girl. So what is this? Like, there's some kind of relationship between
Right.
his guilt or presumed guilt
Uh-huh.
and Pumpkinhead coming for that ass.
I assumed that Pumpkinhead was that girl.
You know what? Then he had it coming.
All right. Yeah. Either way.
just some odd, I don't know, but we'll learn.
But I feel like in such a very short little like introductory sequence of his childhood, I feel like there's a lot there.
Right.
And it's a lot that gets expanded upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And explained.
especially if you've seen it before, going back to that, it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're already setting up all the lore.
Exactly.
Right.
And there's a surprising amount of lore.
Yeah.
There is. I wish that there was more to a point, but we
Yeah.
can get into that later.
I guarantee, and I haven't seen any of the sequels, but I bet they elaborate.
A little, yeah.
I hope so. And there's comics.
Yeah, there are comics.
And there's a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mean Doom?
I mean, it's, with a Pumpkinhead skin.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a video game.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But Ed torches some dry shrubs with a flamethrower in a controlled burn, while Billy, his son, played by Matthew Hurley, sits on the porch of their cabin playing fetch with the family dog, Gypsy, played by Mushroom.
I was so excited.
Again, this
From
dog.
Gremlins.
Yeah, this dog's killing it.
I was so fucking excited. As soon as I saw the word mushroom, I was like, I fucking know that dog. I was so excited.
Didn't we say he should have his paws in the fucking...
Yes.
Yeah.
But Ed arrives home and checks in with his son while washing up. Billy swoops underneath Ed, and Ed washes his hands for him, telling him how when he was his age, his grandmother would wash his hands like this. He says that she was so old that her skin was as thin as tissue paper, and it felt so good. This was actually a story that Henriksen told Winston
Aww.
about his grandmother.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, I want to give, and again, Henriksen's like thinking ahead. He's like, I want to give this kid a sense of family and history.
Right.
I appreciate it too, because very quickly you're like, okay, this dude loves his fucking son.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Very
clearly,
clear.
yeah.
But Ed dries both their hands and races him to the house, saying that the last one in has to do the dishes. He clearly lets Billy win,
Right.
and they head inside. Again, like you said, it's very sweet.
Yeah, they're adorable.
But the dog came in last, so dog's got to do the
Technically.
dishes. All right,
Mushroom doesn't have to do shit. we need to get that squared away right now.
As the president of the Mushroom fucking fan club. I wanted to call out that how peaceful the music is
Yeah.
when contrasting with how tense and ominous the opening is.
Yeah.
Very versatile.
Mm-hmm.
I did see that the composer is a guy called Richard Stone, and he did a lot of music editor work in the 80s.
Right.
But his compositions were mostly in TV animation.
Right.
And you'll be surprised to learn that the guy that scored Pumpkinhead, he wrote the theme songs for both The Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain.
Both great things.
No,
Yes. You're like, so he
Oh, no, yeah.
He does consistently good work. is what you're saying.
continued a level of greatness.
That's awesome, though.
But inside the house, Ed goes over some paperwork at the dining room table, and Billy sneaks a piece of bacon to Gypsy. Not even looking up, Ed clocks that shit, scolding his son, who places the food in the dog's bowl at his father's request. He then excitedly asks Ed if it's story time, which Ed reckons it is, but before it can begin, Billy rushes off to go get something. It's a present for his father, a long necklace with what appears to be some kind of clay man as the charm.
Mm-hmm.
It almost, it looked like a bull to me, the way that it was connected. And I was like, this is going to be important. Nah. And even in all fairness, whatever it is, the necklace barely becomes important.
It does. After, don't forget about the necklace. Is the point.
yeah.
Remember the necklace.
Yeah.
But don't expect more of the necklace. Like I did. But Billy tells him that he doesn't have to wear it all the time, just whenever he feels like it, which is a very adult.
Yeah.
He's like, I understand it's not going to fit every
It
outfit.
does, I was gonna say, it doesn't go with everything. It's a statement piece.
But Ed hugs his son, telling him that he'll never take it off. But with the gift out of the way, it's now story time. Ed tells of a scruffy old man who he describes as a real yes and no type, which I have no idea what that means. But Billy fucking laps it up. So it must be an inside joke.
I was going to say it's an inside joke. It wasn't for us.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't
Good,
for us.
Good for them. But that scruffy old man had a son who he knew would grow up to be something special. It sounds like one of those stories where it's like, and that boy is you. So it's very sweet.
I'm the yes and no man.
Yeah. Which I still don't get. But before we get any closure and finding out that Billy is the boy, we cut to a truck speeding down the road with a car following close behind, both with dirt bikes on trailers. The truck is driven by Steve, played by Joel Hoffman. Maggie, his girlfriend, played by Carrie Rimson, rides passenger. But Steve scolds Tracy, played by Cynthia Bain, who's in the back seat, telling her that a guy called Joel is a great guy once you get to know him. Let's
I'm
be-
like, I won't pass judgment
Right.
on Joel yet.
I will say we spend enough time with Joel to determine.
Yes.
You can form
Yeah.
your own opinion.
But what made me laugh as well is that we joined this during a conversation, I think.
Yeah.
So Tracy's like, Joel's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And we missed that, but yes. But also in the back seat is Chris, Tracy's boyfriend, played by Jeff East. Chris just sits there. But in the following car is Joel, the topic of conversation, played by Todd Gack himself,
Yes.
John D'Aquino. As he speeds past the truck, he honks his horn and asks Kim, his girlfriend, played by Kimberly Ross, for a beer.
He's pretty cool, huh?
What a badass.
Are we supposed to? And I believe there's a leather jacket in
Yeah,
there.
some of that, I'm sure.
I do want to say I saw an interview with D'Aquino, and he was actually saying that he was auditioning for the role of Chris, who was Tracy's boyfriend in the other car.
Right.
But according to that interview, before they even started the audition, him and the actor who eventually would play Chris, Jeff East, got into a fight.
Oh, wow.
And then the auditioners brought them in together to audition, and they already had this animosity from getting in the argument. And so they're like, hey, how about you try for Joel, man?
Yeah.
And they're just fucking really going at it.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And
That's great.
They both got the part based on them being pissed off at each other.
It all worked out.
It did.
Yeah.
But they became friends after, so it's fine.
All right.
Don't worry about it. He wasn't as much of a dick on screen as he is.
Hopefully. God damn.
But Steve honks back, telling his friends that they're about 50 miles out from the cabin. In the car, though, Kim has retrieved the beer for Joel, but asks him why he always has to bring that stupid rifle with him. That did make me laugh because I'm like, oh, this is going to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. We're really getting the whole picture painted
Yeah.
of, what's going on.
But Joel's response, in his best Stallone, but really sounding more like Travolta, Joel says that you never know what you're going to find in the jungle.
All right.
You're going to a cabin.
Yeah.
All right.
In the forest, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it's a Rambo thing. But she cracks his beer open for him and puts it to his lips for him to sip it. He can't even
be
drink and
bothered.
drive
Yeah.
on his own. But Ed, Billy, and Gypsy arrive in their truck at Harley and Son Grocery. Once out of the truck, Ed pours a gasoline can into a dog bowl and Gypsy starts lapping it up. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I think it's water.
Yeah.
They probably just shouldn't have done that.
No. I was like, so either Gypsy's a robot or, or something is really wrong at Harley and Son Grocery. But Ed and Billy begin opening duties for the store, getting the produce misted and displayed while also joking around and spraying each other.
That looked pretty genuine. Him playing.
Yes.
I was like, man, I bet that kid's having fun making this movie.
Something's telling
Very
me
sweet.
it's
Yeah.
probably unscripted the way they...
Probably.
But it really sells what we need for later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they do a really good job of it.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to point out, I read that interview with the co-writer, and he had said that their goal, now that we've seen both night and day,
Right.
he said their goal was for the nighttime scenes to evoke Mario Bava, which all right.
Did they succeed?
No, but he said for the daytime scenes, their goal was to evoke Deliverance.
The fuck?
Right.
Yeah, and I don't really...
Yeah.
I appreciate you get an A for effort.
Yeah.
On both.
Yeah, and I really don't know. Is it there's no banjo?
Yeah.
I wouldn't, and that's not something I would want to evoke for these scenes either.
Yeah. No.
I thought that was a very strange.
It worked out. It worked out.
I mean, we you get what you get.
Yeah.
But on the road, Tracy notices a man wandering down the street and very frantically asks Steve to pull over so she can take a picture of him.
She says a picture of this.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
already I'm like, I already don't like Joel.
No.
And then that little comment really put me off of the rest of the
Yeah.
group.
I was
to be
like,
honest.
really, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve refuses, though, saying that people can be really weird and recounts a story about a man who murdered his wife and ate her body to dispose of the evidence.
This man's just walking down the road.
Yeah, no
I feel like
shit.
that's a little bit of a leap. But the fact that she's like, let me get a picture of this. And he's like, people are weird. Like, they don't like you shoving a camera randomly in
Yeah.
their face. Like,
No.
what a weirdo. He probably killed his fucking wife. Like, what are you talking about?
It's a leap.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it me or is the dub a little off here?
Oh, it is.
No, it
All
is.
Yeah.
It absolutely.
I was like, was the engine too loud? Or? But Steve says that the police found the wife's severed foot in a pot with carrots and onions, and as they passed the disheveled wanderer, who was holding a rifle, mind you, Steve says that he thinks that was the guy who did it.
Well, you never know what you're going to find in the jungle. We've already established this.
It's made it very clear.
Take your rifle everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
At least they were getting their veggies in. I mean, I'm not condoning cannibalism. I'm just saying
But
at least
it was a well-rounded...
there was balance to it.
When you think of the food pyramid, which I've heard is a scam.
Really?
I've heard that's bullshit. Because honestly, the grains are at the bottom, and that's a lot of carbs. And the sugar is at the top, which tastes the best. So,
so definitely
I don't agree. But I do want to point out that as he says this, he points right in the man's face.
Leave that fucking dude alone,
and
man.
Tracy does take a picture.
Yeah.
And we also never see this man again, which I thought we would.
No. I thought that he was going to have something to do with Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
And we never see him
He's
again.
just a guy.
He's carrying rabbits. He was just out there hunting.
Yeah, but he's just a guy that, killed his wife and ate her foot or whatever.
Look, he's got enough rabbits to not need to eat his wife.
Your whole story's falling apart.
Yeah. You're just a dick, Steve, I think. But both vehicles arrive and park outside of Harley and Son Grocery. Joel finishes his beer and tosses the can, approaching the storefront with Kim at his side. Gypsy isn't about it, though, and when Billy opens up the door, the dog runs up on their spot and barks at them.
Even the dog knows you're trash, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this is, as soon as they got out of the car, they're fucking littering. I'm like, I hate them. I hate all of them. And I know not all of them deserve the hate, but I'm lumping them together at this point as watching this.
Well, yeah, we know them as a group so far.
Yeah.
And
fuck
honestly,
them.
I mean,
I'm mad.
Yeah.
Guilt by association.
Yeah.
If you choose to hang out with Joel. And there are some very odd, redemption arcs that they attempt in this film.
Okay, because we'll get to that. I have in my notes, I'm not really on board with, with what you're trying to do.
Really, for any of them.
And then I'm unclear. I know that there's something to do with motorcycles and a cabin.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're traveling together. And then as they kind of differentiate these couples from each other, it's like, why are y'all even hanging out?
This is a great question.
It's very confusing.
But Billy rushes out to stop the dog. And before things get too hairy, he does. Ed just watches this all happen from the doorway. But Joel cracks wise about Billy's glasses, and Tracy's like, Jesus Christ. He is a kid.
Yeah.
You better leave that fucking baby alone. I was so mad because he says that about his glasses and they're like, oh my God, dude. He's like, I was just saying.
Yeah, he's like, come on.
The kid's got ugly fucking, what were you about to say?
We were all thinking it.
I was just saying.
But I was pleased to see the rest of the group isn't about that joke either.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Joel's wearing a leather jacket.
Yeah.
He's probably like the Fonzie of the
he's
group.
He's the leader.
Everybody thinks he's all cool. I struggled because I was like, I wanted to call them kids, but he's clearly like 30.
So
I think we're the same age.
Yeah. And I refuse. I can't call someone my age kid.
Yeah.
But Tracy and Chris politely chat with Billy to kind of smooth things over, and Billy introduces himself and his dog to them. Maggie heads inside the store while Kim watches the group from the porch. I guess because bullying a small child didn't go over very well.
Yeah.
Joel is ready to blow this popsicle stand.
I thought you guys were cool, man.
If my jokes aren't going to land, I'm going to the cabin. But he gets a very reluctant Steve to help him get his dirt bike from the truck and starts it up, taking off. Gypsy, who is playing fetch with Billy, barks very loudly as Joel speeds away. And as he speeds away, he catches some air and he's really just showing off for no apparent reason.
Yeah. Gypsy said, not in my fucking house.
Yeah.
I don't get this whole motorcycle interlude at all.
Not really.
Because we're going home. We're going to the cabin. I'm presuming they've been to this cabin before.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like a family thing.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to ride bikes. Because you don't even know what's out here. You just stopped at a random thing and you're just zipping across the hills. This was just weird.
No, it was a lot. You remember was it Last House on the Left where that kid just started doing flips for no reason? That's kind of what this feels like. It's like someone just wanted to show off their skills.
Cool, dude.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Yeah, we're very proud of you. But just then, Mr. Wallace, played by George Buck Flower, pulls up in his truck. I don't know if you guys remember because he had a very small role, but Flower is like a Carpenter mainstay.
Yeah.
If you remember on The Fog, he was stabbed by a ghost pirate.
He looked very familiar to me.
He's been, I think he was in Escape from New York.
Okay.
Like all over the place.
Nice.
Another good character actor.
Yeah.
But in the back of his truck are 5 children. Bund, played by Brian Brimmer. Jimmy Joe, played by Joseph Pirro. Hesse, played by Devin Odessa. Wallace Kid, played by Jandy Swanson. And Wallace Kid,
All right.
played by Mayim Bialik.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
She hosts Jeopardy now.
Yeah, well, good for her. I don't care for
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
We can move on.
Yeah. I remember hearing some things. I also never watched The Big Bang Theory, but...
No.
Yeah. I had no idea who she is.
She's Blossom.
That's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She was also Blossom.
And I loved Blossom.
Couldn't.
but
I thought that was
we
her
should have just
name.
stayed there.
Her real name.
Yeah.
One thing, I'll kind of smooth it out a little bit. Brian Brimmer, who plays Bunt, he also played Nick in the 2nd season of Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Oh, all right.
I will allow it.
Okay.
I forgive the rest.
Are we on
yes.
good terms? Okay.
I've been made happy again. I accept your offering.
Just think of Mushroom and you'll...
I'll be fine.
But Mr. Wallace blows his nose into a handkerchief and tells his grandkids to stay put as they hop out of the back. He sizes up Kim before heading inside the store as well. I don't know if it's just like a, country mouse, city mouse thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they've made this dude's like a caricature.
Yeah.
Because not only is he carting around all these filthy, very dirty children.
Yeah.
He looks her up and down like he's considering beating her ass, and then he scratches his ass.
No, he
And then
does.
I was like, y'all did not have to do him like that.
The man's a character.
I wondered why he did that too.
There are farmers that are regular ass people, dude.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
he did not need to do all this.
But we're trying to do
Deliverance?
Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
Deliverance. But the kids kind of marvel at Tracy's camera, except for Bunt, who knows what it is, and Tracy snaps a photo of the girls. This kind of struck me as weird.
Yeah.
Because it's a very odd mix. You have the girls who are like, what's that?
Yeah.
And then Bunt's like, oh, it's a Nikon SLR or whatever. Like, you would think growing up in the same house.
Yeah.
Well, but we learn in a little bit that Bunt is out in the world.
True.
Yeah.
Like maybe the younger kids are stuck at the farm, but this boy knows shit.
Yeah.
That is very fair. That's fair. I'll give him that.
And maybe he's seen a couple Nikons.
The things you accumulate.
You know?
But inside the store, Ed greets Mr. Wallace, and it's clear that he's a regular customer. Steve and Maggie snag some supplies, but are very bummed to find out that Harley Grocery does not sell alcohol. But outside, Jimmy Joe grabs the ball that Gypsy was fetching, which draws the ire of the rest of the Wallace children. Bunt takes notice of this, and using his big brother powers, gets Jimmy Joe to hand it over. Bunt then tells him that he's done bad, and they all know what settles on the bad ones. Hesse answers with a sly smile. Pumpkinhead. The girls chanted at him as they walk around him, and Jimmy Joe, another true Shaniac, says that Pumpkinhead... he says Pumpkinhead is not real. But they ask him, what about Mr. Foley? And Jimmy Joe just responds that Mr. Foley moved away. No. The girls disagree, as does Bunt, who says that Pumpkinhead tore his head off and drank all the blood. There's a lot of discrepancies
I feel like that's a big gap.
between these two stories.
Isn't this your brother? Why are y'all circling him like that?
I don't...
Yeah,
It's
they were.
What the fuck? Y'all gonna beat him up? It's like,
I don't understand terrorizing younger siblings.
right.
Nate, can you...
It's because you don't have a younger sibling.
Can you fill
would
us in
if
on
you
that?
did. It's fun.
It's fun. But
Plus, Jimmy Joe did do bad.
he did, but
That was Mushroom's ball. Keep your fucking mitts off of it.
it wasn't that
Yeah.
bad. He could have been about to play fetch with him.
Don't mess with Mushroom shit. Or what did he say? He's gonna rip your head off and drink all your blood.
Drink your blood. But this is when I started cracking
Punishment
up.
doesn't fit the crime.
No, it does not. But this is when I started cracking up because they start dropping some bars.
Yeah.
That is my literal next note. They're dropping bars about Pumpkinhead.
And
they're tearing
collectively.
it up.
Yeah.
They say, stay away from Pumpkinhead unless you're tired of living. His enemies are mostly dead. He's mean and unforgiving. The rhymes continue faintly in the background as Mr. Wallace places his items on the store counter. Ed just rests against the register, and we see flashes of his memory of the night in 1957. The rhyme then continues against Jimmy Joe's protests. Bolted doors and windows barred, guard dogs prowling in the yard, won't protect you till you're dead, nothing will, from Pumpkinhead.
Bunt's like, I got no snare in my headphones.
Yeah.
But I was like, God damn, there's a second verse. Is this the poem?
Yes.
Okay, very cool. But they're circling this little boy, like
Yeah.
you said, and Ed is like, reflecting on his own trauma.
Yeah.
But clearly, like, they hear this child being terrorized outside,
yeah.
and nobody's like, "Hey, chief, like, your boy's getting traumatized out there." Like, nobody gives a shit.
He shouldn't have taken the ball, is
I
what.
guess.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is that this is, like you said, the poem that was written by Ed Justin.
Yeah.
But there's like 5 or 6 stanzas.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot to memorize to like try to scare your little brother.
When you commit to a bit.
I guess. But I was thinking about even like Freddie's song was just counting to 10 and doing it by twos at that.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna shorten the show. 10? Impossible.
No.
That's too much.
but this is like a fucking ballad. But Jimmy Joe screams for them to stop, as does Tracy, who looks very uneasy.
Tracy's like, "You're scaring your mother.
Yeah.
You're scaring the kid. The kid."
Yeah, the kid. Just the kid. But Hesse persists with another Pumpkinhead, but Bunt's like, all right, he's at his... He knows what he did.
He only took a ball. It's fine.
But he lifts his siblings back into the truck before approaching Tracy and Chris. He kind of fake lunges at them, which causes Tracy to jump.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck the story is with this kid.
But it's very funny to me because when he lunges, Chris goes, "Hey," like very weakly, like, "Don't do that."
Man.
Like, could you
Oh,
imagine?
hell no.
That it would be more than "Hey."
Right.
But Bunt just chuckles before tossing the ball back to Tracy, who catches it. She gives the ball back to Billy, and Chris assures her that he was about to say something himself.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, "Hey." But in the store, Ed rings up Mr. Wallace's purchases, but realizes that he left Mr. Wallace's feed at his house. He says that he can snag it and bring it to his house, and Mr. Wallace is down for that, only as long as he brings it before dark.
He's like rudely down with it.
Yeah.
He is. Well, he was like, because he asked, he's like, "Well, can you bring it back or whatever?" And he's like, "No,
Yeah.
I gotta be at the farm or whatever."
Yeah.
This goes beyond as far as service is concerned.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a small town.
And
Yeah.
he's just fucking rude about it. He's like, "I can't come back. I got to smear more dirt on my grave. I got a full day ahead of me."
The afternoon dirt, and we all. But the roar of a dirt bike's engine interrupts their conversation, and we see that Joel has returned, doing wheelies and all types of shit.
He was working on his jokes. When he was on the
Yeah.
So that was two me.
I'll get him.
Yeah.
I'll get him this time. I'll make fun of the kid's clothes.
That'll get him. That'll get him on board. But Tracy calls him a jerk, and Chris counters that he's a talented jerk, but Tracy says that he's just a jerk. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
He's a cretin.
Yes. But Ed calls out to his son to come inside with the dog and tells him to stay and mind the store while he goes and snags the feed. He says that he'll take him for a ride when he gets back.
I understand not wanting to leave your store unminded with these little assholes outside.
Right.
Uh-huh.
But again, these assholes are outside riding these bikes around, drinking beer. Joel's fucking drunk.
Yeah.
Don't leave your son alone, even if you tell him to stay inside. The store is still open. Those people could come inside and take your son or make fun of his glasses again and hurt his feelings. Don't do that.
Well, he's got a business to run, and it seems
That's
that
a
Mr.
child.
Wallace
He's a baby.
Yeah, but-
is his only customer. He's really keeping the lights
right.
on,
Fair enough.
so we have to do everything to accommodate him.
Yeah.
Then lock up and you and your son go
Yeah,
get the
go
feed.
do it.
Yeah, that I didn't understand. I mean, sure, they could smash the fruit that's on the porch, but
Yeah.
we can get more fruit.
Yeah.
Wait,
Or
it'll be
just
fine.
cart
Yeah.
it back inside.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
I
It
don't
was on
know.
wheels.
Yeah.
You have one son.
Yeah.
I mean, look after him.
Yeah.
But he does just leave him there.
Yeah.
And outside, while all that conversation is going on, Steve puts his helmet on, is about to get on his dirt bike to join Joel. Maggie is very annoyed by this, asking why he encourages Joel. Steve looks a bit ashamed of himself, but he simply says, "He's my brother."
And he's talented
Yeah.
as fuck, bro. Like, did you see that?
You don't gotta make excuses for him being an asshole all the
No.
time. You know, tell him, it's like, "Hey man, you're kind of an asshole."
He's your brother. He should be able to take it.
Yeah.
And also, why are we doing this here? Like, I still don't understand why we stopped at the store to And
I feel like these conversations should have happened before they agreed to the trip. Ann Hog's coming. Why the fuck is Joel here? But Mr. Wallace and his children depart the store in their truck as Ed steps outside to get into his. Steve and Joel go off-road, and Tracy tries to snap photos of them as they do. They made photos like her character trait at the beginning.
Yeah.
Never comes up again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because it seemed like this was like, oh, we're going to document like us writing. But like, I don't know. Are you taking photos to capture the moment, or are y'all working on a project? Because they don't seem like they're hanging out together because they're all great buddies.
No.
I mean, the motivation was very off to me because I didn't understand what they were doing.
I figured they were just like, well, teens got to get away sometimes. Yeah. And it's the 80s and everyone likes watching teens get away. But I did hope with all the camera stuff, I hope that it would eventually become like an Itchy and Scratchy Land kind of a thing.
Right.
Where it's important.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
No, not at all.
Nope.
Just a thing she likes to do.
Mm-hmm. We all have hobbies.
Yeah. But once again, Gypsy rushes outside against Billy's protests and runs all the way out to Steve and Joel. Billy follows, going past Tracy, Chris, Kim, and Maggie. Maggie, who is the only one that seems to notice, runs at -5 miles per hour, calling out. She already knew his name, but she's like, little boy.
Knees to chest, man. I'm going to need you to pick up the pace.
But she does immediately fall.
Yes, fuck.
You gotta
throw herself down.
Yeah,
either
whichever.
Either one.
But for some reason, the group tends to her instead of little boy.
Yeah.
Little boy.
But little boy runs right into the path of the dirt bikes.
Yeah.
I was so stressed.
Oh, yeah.
This whole thing. And again, this is when I was like, something happens that I did not fucking see coming whatsoever. I didn't.
No.
It's giving Pet Sematary.
Absolutely.
The long run.
Yeah.
And it's extremely, I was very stressed out.
There's a real Pet Sematary moment later that kind of
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, well, the movie came out in '89, but when did the book come out? I bet it did come out first.
Yeah.
But Steve catches some air, but wipes out immediately as to not hit Billy. Joel, however, hits the same hill and everything goes into slow motion. Joel's bike crashes into Billy, who crumbles to the dirt.
This was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
The execution of it, obviously, this person did not actually get hit by this bike.
No.
Yeah.
But I'm used to like the shoe in Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
Or the kite in Silver Bullet. I was not expecting to see fucking impact of a bike hitting this child. Like, I wasn't prepared for that.
I thought we'd see that shot of him above, like, twisting the wheel, like, whoa! And then just what the fallout is.
Yes.
But you see it, like, he takes it full on.
I was like, oh my God.
Well, he reacts full on.
Well, yeah, he reacts. Yeah. It's more of a side hit.
Yeah, it's more of a graze.
Yes.
But Maggie cries out as the rest of the group stands frozen in horror. Gypsy, who technically caused all of this, whimpers at Billy's side, probably guilt whines or whatever.
No, Gypsy was like, fuck.
He learned that from that, yeah. But Joel says that Billy just came out of nowhere as the rest of the group runs to check on him.
No, he's been running for quite a while. It wasn't out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was very slow, and he was clearly. But Tracy says that the boy is cold, and Joel immediately picks up his bike and helmet.
It's not funny, but my jaw hit the floor. I'm like, I know we've already established this dude as an asshole, but not even a moment.
No.
He said, Slayer! Like, not even a moment hesitation. He's like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
But it was like a point of where it's like his muscle memory is self-preservation.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And I think he isn't a great guy, as Steve had led us to believe.
No.
But Joel loads his bike back onto the trailer and starts to secure it. Steve rushes over asking him what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
But Joel levels with him. He just ran over a kid. If the police catch him, he'll fry. Steve tells him it was just an accident.
It was an accident.
Yeah.
And he said, he goes, I almost hit him myself. But Joel's like, I'm also drunk.
Yeah.
It's like, Joel, you really fucked yourself here, dude.
Yeah.
And so there's no way out of it.
Yeah.
Kim approaches saying that they can't just leave Billy there, but Joel knocks her down and forces her into the car.
What the fuck?
I'm just like, oh, you're beyond.
Yeah.
Like, literally, and we will get to it later. But my literal thought in this moment, you didn't mean to hurt the child, obviously.
Right.
But you did mean to make fun of him.
Uh-huh.
You did mean to flee after you do hurt this child.
Yeah.
And you just pushed your girlfriend onto the floor, or whoever it was.
Yeah, it was his
you pushed
girlfriend.
a woman down on the ground.
Yes.
You're irredeemable to me.
Yeah, there's literally...
There is nothing that you can do that will take away these things that you just did to me. But we will. We'll revisit that in a little bit.
Right. But Chris heads into the store to call the police, but he discovers that they don't have a phone. The four who stayed behind return to Billy, frantically trying to figure out what to do. Steve tells them that there is a phone at the cabin, and he says that they should all head out there to call the police, and he'll stay here with Billy. With his jacket over Billy to keep him warm, Steve watches as they all get into their vehicle and speed off. But a little later, a very oblivious Ed returns to the store and heads inside to look for his son. When he doesn't see him, he heads outside, calling out to Billy and whistling for Gypsy.
I'm like, say something.
Yeah.
Say something.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, he's looking for him.
Oh, he's
like,
gonna be mad.
I honestly, and the way he handles it is like so ridiculous because
it's really bad.
Yeah.
he's just sitting out in the field, and when he sees Ed, he just waves.
Yeah.
It's like urgency.
Yeah, over here, man.
Yeah. Oh, we're just out here. No. Some shit has gone down.
Yeah.
Horrible, unimaginable shit.
The kid is still alive.
Yeah,
No,
I thought that Billy had died.
Yes.
No.
But the scene where Steve has, volunteered to stay behind or whatever, he's actively blinking.
Oh, no, yeah.
I was
He
like,
is.
oh, he's okay.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not okay, but he's alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why, I know we're not necessarily familiar with the area, but if we can get in our vehicles and drive to the cabin, maybe we could try to head to a town or something.
Yeah, hospital.
He's
Yeah.
not dead.
No.
And this frustrates me too moving forward, but go ahead.
But Ed does run over looking confused and concerned and does find his son in a heap on the ground and immediately cradles him, calmly cleaning Billy's glasses and placing them on his face as he scoops him up.
That was heartbreaking.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of nuances that he offers to Ed Harley that I really appreciate,
For sure.
but he doesn't even ask what happened.
No.
Yeah.
And Steve isn't even like, it was an accident. I'm so sorry. Like they went to go call for help. We didn't mean to. We didn't.
Right.
Steve's just like, man, like this sucks. Like,
Yeah.
like nobody's like reacting
Yeah.
in a way that I feel is appropriate.
And I understand being in shock, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, okay, the only thing we need to worry about right now is saving this kid's life.
Yeah.
Yes.
You need all the information you need.
Yes,
We need
yeah.
to take him to a town, take him to a hospital, but
Yeah.
they're just like silently and just like nodding at each
And
other.
Ed, you know where the town is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're the guy to get him there.
You
Yeah.
goddamn live here.
But you own a store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ed does pick him up and carry him towards the store with Steve and Gypsy following behind. Steve finally says it was an accident, and he asks if there's anything he can do to help, but Ed whips around and gives him the death glare to end all death glares.
If looks could kill.
Yeah, he would be an Uzi.
Yeah.
But Steve obviously is like, can I help? And he gives him that look. He's like, I'll take that as a no.
Yeah.
Ed's like, you think maybe we should get him to a doctor. As soon as possible.
But the music grows tense as the camera pulls back, and in a long shot, Steve stands alone in the field as Ed's truck roars to life and it speeds off, kicking up dust. But Tracy, Chris, and Maggie arrive at the cabin, parking right next to Joel's car. Tracy rushes across a bridge and runs through a trail before reaching the cabin proper, where inside, Kim wipes her tears with a tissue and Joel skulks around.
This was weird to me too, because when she gets out of the vehicle, she's like, come on. And he's like, no, you go ahead.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, for some reason, Maggie has taken this
Very
horribly.
Yeah.
She's like, why was I stuck in slow motion?
Yeah. Why was I dreaming while that little boy who doesn't have a name was running? But and that's something very strange to me is I feel like, they all witnessed it. It's just very interesting to me how they all react to this.
They all
Yeah.
witnessed it, and I feel like if someone was going to take it this hard. This is traumatic to even witness.
Absolutely.
I don't take issue necessarily with her, taking it this hard, but I think it should be the person that was talking with him and playing with his dog with him. Like you went inside, like you called him little boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You were inside buying Lay's classic.
Yeah.
While they're getting to know this kid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a little odd. I'm not saying switch roles.
Because she's like catatonic.
Yeah. For pretty much most of this.
Yeah.
But Tracy asks if they called for help, and they just stand there useless and silent. Tracy then reaches the phone, but as soon as she begins to dial, Joel rips the cord from the wall. He holds it defiantly, almost brandishing it. Chris carries Maggie into the cabin, putting her on the couch as Tracy tells him what Joel just did. Chris is like, what? Which is not the reaction
Again.
it deserves.
Yeah.
You're trying to save a child's life. The asshole who made this situation happen.
Yeah.
Outside of the dog, we'll get to the dog.
Hey.
Yeah.
But outside of the dog business, Joel is the most at fault. And he is ripping the phone cord out of the wall, and all he can muster is, what?
It only gets worse. The heinous things that this man does, and the rest of the group is like, well, I'll be damned. Like, there's no reaction.
That's so Joel. Like, it's just part of it. I just don't get it.
He's doing this again.
Yeah. It's just who he is. But Tracy takes it upon herself to leave the cabin and head back to the store, but Joel stops her, literally plucking the keys out of her hand with ease. This is when Chris grabs Joel's arm and he goes, "What's up?"
Can we rap for a minute?
Yeah, he's like, dude.
Turns his chair backwards.
Again, his reactions
Joel,
are just like,
what's this really about,
dude,
man?
come on. But Kim finally drops the bomb. Joel was in another accident a couple months ago where he injured a little girl.
So you're a repeat offender.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's currently on probation, and if the police find out about this, he'll go to jail.
How old is this guy supposed to be?
I think he's supposed to be 18.
17 years old.
But he's at least like my age. He's
Yeah,
got to be 31.
He's a grown up right
Yeah,
here.
very clearly.
That's really what's going on.
He's not going to be able to play on the team if the police find out.
Little League. I think. But Joel very emphatically says they're not going to find out about it. Tracy insists that they can't just leave Billy the way that they did, and a very light struggle ensues. Joel shoves Chris, then vaults Tracy onto the couch before being socked in the face by Chris, who is not at all deterred by the shove.
Yeah.
No, nobody gives a shit.
No.
This is what I'm saying. His behavior is so far out of pocket, nobody even registers anymore.
Yeah.
No.
It's absurd.
It is very funny when Chris punches Joel because he literally goes, "Ah!" Like he screams. I don't know, because Chris seems pretty chill. I guess it's some pent up frustration, but Chris does grab the keys, but as he turns around, Joel clocks him in the back of the skull with a log, knocking him out cold.
And once again, no reaction.
No.
That's
Like, Joel. Like,
Yeah. And again, I'm sorry, but Kim's there, Tracy's there. I know Maggie's there. She's kind of going through it right now.
Yeah.
But at the very least, it's 2-on-1.
we can whoop his ass.
Absolutely.
I bring up that point later. We could whoop his ass.
Yeah.
Like, this dude, I don't want to give anything away, but he's got this group in a chokehold later.
Yeah.
For no fucking, for
None.
no reason.
And it's not even as if like he's in a like the way that we see him later, he's not even in a position of power to where he could
Right.
do anything.
No.
He is the most vulnerable person
Yeah.
in the shot, and yet nobody wants to challenge him.
Yeah. That was my first reaction.
Mm-hmm.
There's two of y'all. Why
Yeah.
aren't you kicking his ass? I was like, what are y'all? Why are you just sitting there?
Well, he's got that log now, I guess. The great equalizer.
Yeah. There was a few there. They
There
could've-
were.
Yeah.
Everybody take a log.
Yeah.
On guard, motherfucker. Like, if we're doing this, let's do this.
Yeah.
But Ed arrives home with Billy, carrying him inside and grabbing a wet towel from the sink. He gingerly lays him down in bed and tells him that he's going to be all right as he wipes his face.
But why did y'all go home? This is what was
Yeah.
so weird to me, because it's like, I feel like, I guess going to a hospital or something would ruin this like folksy, like small town story that we're telling.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But he needs medical attention. I'm just like, this is crazy.
And medical attention that a wet rag cannot provide.
No, yeah. But his glasses are clean.
Yeah.
So is his face.
Oh, okay.
So, we'll see what
he'll be
happens.
all right.
Yeah.
But Ed begins telling his story again. Once upon a time, there was an old man, and he had a very special son. Billy mutters, "Daddy," before slowly slipping into death. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I definitely misspoke up at the top about this is what I was floored.
Yeah.
Like, this is not what I anticipated.
No.
I think when shit pops off, I'm like, yeah, this is what I signed up for.
Yeah.
But all of this, oh no, I wasn't ready at all.
Right.
But the sunlight beams through the windows as Ed embraces his son and Gypsy looks on, probably racked with guilt as, he's to blame for all of this. But
man, he didn't know any better.
Well, he should have known better. This is the second goddamn time in the same day that he's done this.
Well,
he was rewarded with fetch, so maybe it's everyone's fault.
Yes. The dog only knows what you teach him.
You can teach a dog. I believe the saying is you can teach a dog new tricks.
Especially the old ones.
Exactly, especially them. But Steve finally makes it to the cabin, breezing past Joel to check on Maggie. Suddenly, behind a barricaded pantry door, Chris and Tracy scream and pound to get Steve's attention.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Y'all just sat there and the big log that everyone he was keeping everybody at bay with, isn't that lodged under the handle?
I think it's helping to keep everything.
You know, whoop his ass.
But Steve, he's very, again, nobody's reacting.
No.
He's like, I don't believe this.
Yeah.
Joel, even for you, man, this is
a lot.
God
This
damn.
is beyond the pale. But Joel says that he isn't going to jail over a fucking accident. Steve says that Ed showed up and took Billy, so he thinks everything's going to be fine. Kim then asks if he's sure, and he says that he is. He told Ed what happened, that it was an accident, and Ed, just looked at him. Joel's like, what the fuck does that mean? He's like, he looked at you? What do you mean he looked at you?
Be honest.
Yeah.
And Steve, at first, he goes, I don't know. But then finally he gets it out. He's like, he looked at me like he wanted to kill me.
That's literally how he looked at him.
On what planet does that mean that everything's going to be fine?
Everything's pizza.
Yeah.
He wants us dead, but no biggie.
Yeah, it'll be fine, dude. You've got that log. But we cut to Ed speeding down the road in his truck, his son's body covered in a blanket lying next to him in the seat. He arrives at the Wallaces. It looks like a compound almost.
Yeah.
There's tons of folks hanging outside, tending to animals and various other farm duties. But Ethan Wallace, played by Robert Fredrickson, walks over to the driver's side window. Ed tells him that he's looking for his father. So Ethan calls out to his son, Bunt, telling him to fetch his grandfather. Bunt does as told, and figuring that it's just about the feed that Ed owed them, goes to collect it from the back of Ed's truck. Mr. Wallace comes out to pay Ed for the feed, but Ed tells him to keep the money if he can help him find an old woman who lives somewhere nearby in the mountains. He says that she's rumored to have powers. Mr. Wallace claims to have never heard of her, though, but Ed doesn't buy it. Mr. Wallace just puts the money back in Ed's hand and says that he can't tell him what he doesn't know. Ed, however, responds by lifting the blanket to show him Billy's body. At this point, Mr. Wallace tells Bunt to get in the house so he can talk to Ed privately. Ed tells him what happened with the dirt bags on the dirt bikes, and Mr. Wallace gives him his condolences, but still refuses to help.
Dirt bags on the dirt bags. That took me a second.
I tried. Ed grabs Mr. Wallace, though, pleading for his help, but Mr. Wallace says that old woman can't help Billy. All she can do is take Ed straight to hell. He says, just go home, bury Billy, and forget about it.
This was giving Pet Sematary to me again.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I have a couple things to unpack here. Firstly, the way he was acting so entitled about his feed at the shop. And he hadn't even fucking paid for it yet.
Yeah, I assumed he
I thought he had paid for it. And that's why Ed's like, I'll just bring it to you. Motherfucker. Like,
no.
Take your business elsewhere.
That better be the tip.
Yes. The fact that, again, I feel... nobody is reacting like a human. I feel like in this entire film, except Ed.
Yeah.
And even then,
that's it.
He's a little off too.
Yeah. But you think about Mr. Wallace seeing the body and he's like,
that's what I'm saying.
and I'm real sorry about that.
That's what I'm saying. You just saw that little boy alive an hour ago.
Yeah.
You don't even ask what happened.
No.
He's just
Yeah,
like, listen, go bury him. It's like, what? That was very strange to me.
Yeah, but he's telling him what you're looking for. That's not what you really want.
I
True.
understand
You know
that,
what I mean?
but
And-
this man's son is dead, and we don't even blink an eye.
No. I get that. And
you
it
saw
is-
him an hour ago.
No, it
You were
is.
just at the
But
store.
if you're asking for this person, then you know. I mean, I'm sure he's like, no, I don't. I don't want no part of that.
I get it, but I don't get it.
It's very fair. But we cut to Ed driving away from the Wallace property, but Bunt jumps out into the road, stopping him. He slinks over to Ed's window, slyly telling him that he heard him talking to his grandfather and he knows who he's looking for. But he asks, "What's the trade?"
First of all, I knew this little shit would have
Oh yeah.
the hookup.
Yeah.
But the way he sidles up to the window, he's like, I heard you're looking for the Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
bitch."
Well, he goes, "Mr. Harley." Like,
Yeah.
right.
like he didn't-
well.
I got those pumpkin seeds you're looking for. I was
the
like,
fuck?
well, yeah.
Does
How
that
much,
help
how much?
me?
Yeah.
Or, yeah. It does make me laugh because for 10 crumpled American dollars,
Yes.
this is enough for Bunt to tell Ed that the woman's name is Haggis and she lives up on Black Ridge.
Haggis.
Yep.
I feel like this was a Poochie situation where they were like, we want hag in it, but like, haggis okay with everything.
Yeah, sure.
I died at the crumpled up 10.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's like, that'll work.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
That's all I need. But Ed forces a reluctant Bunt to get into the back of the truck to show him the way, but Bunt says that he'll only go halfway because that woman scares the piss out of him. Ed drives on, reaching a foggy road, which is the end of the line for Bunt. He hops out, telling Ed to continue going straight until he comes to a cabin. So Ed continues on as told, and Bunt just takes off running.
Yeah, Julie James the
Yeah.
fuck out of there. Overalls and all. He's like,
Yeah.
nope.
He
Nope.
said
Yeah.
she scares the piss out of me.
And honestly, they're not even at the cabin yet. It's creepy
No.
as fuck
Yeah.
out here.
Yes, he's like, even this is too close, to be honest. But it killed me that he got all this information for $10 and then he's like, now walk your ass home.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even
Well, that's
Take it
Yeah,
back.
you can't go back.
It's either you give me that crumpled 10 back.
Yeah.
We'll talk about a ride back. He didn't say it was a round trip.
Yeah.
he didn't even want to go the one way.
Well,
You made him get in the truck.
But Ed arrives and gets out of his truck, carrying Billy and his blanket down the ridge. He crosses a small swamp and makes his way across a rickety bridge to the front door of the cabin. There is some pretty good production design here.
Oh yeah.
The production designer was a woman named Cynthia Charette, and she did a lot of television shows, but she also did Wes Craven's New Nightmare
Oh,
Oh, shit.
nice.
and JP, Scary Movie 2.
Hey, there you go. It's a good one.
Yeah, and I think what we remember
good one.
most from Scary Movie 2 was the production design.
Yes.
100%.
So,
It really stuck out.
I figured it would stand out for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did.
But Ed lets himself inside. He finds the silhouette of a woman sitting in a chair and creeps closer. An owl cranes its neck to look around. I'm like, she has an owl?
Why not?
Yeah.
I love owls. I was very happy to see him. Uncredited. We can't all be Mushroom. The casting director's like, I don't give a hoot.
Do you know who I am? Who?
But the door creaks closed by itself as a mouse squeaks, also watching on. Ed approaches the side of the woman's chair, and the camera pans over to reveal Haggis, played by Florence Schaufler. Her wrinkled face bathed in orange light, she asks, "Who are you?" Ed introduces himself, but before he can explain why he's here, Haggis tells him that raising the dead isn't within her power. It's like, I don't think he needed to introduce himself there.
Yeah.
No,
You
yeah.
already know why he's
She's
here?
just fucking with
Yeah.
you.
But Ed sets his son's body down before looking over at Haggis, the back of her head outlined within her thinning hair in the glowing light of the fire. He empties his pockets of coins and jewelry, placing them into a chalice. He says it's all he has, but Haggis insists that there's nothing she can do for Billy. Ed says that when he was young, but the words won't come out. He fights against himself as Agus just keeps repeating, "Say it." I was like, oh my God. You're meant to help me?
Turned into McMahon for a second.
Yeah.
Who are you getting in bed with? Like, look at what's going on right now.
The funny thing I read from the co-writer, he had said that the original intention was that the witch was going to be way more like personable.
Okay.
More dialogue.
That's lost.
Yeah.
Very lost. It was Winston. He said, "I want a witch."
Yeah.
And not the restaurant.
Right.
Not a
I want a
sponsor.
sandwich.
Yeah.
You give me a sandwich, we'll talk about this witch stuff.
It's time for lunch.
Yeah. But Ed finally does say it. He says when he was young, people talked about her and how she knew things. If a man had been wronged, they could come to her and she would call upon this thing in that man's name and he would be avenged. She tells him that what he's asking for carries a powerful price, and he reminds her, those kids ran over his son and left him for dead.
They didn't leave him.
No.
Yeah.
Somebody stayed behind and other people went to get help. Joel did leave him.
No,
Yeah.
But don't
he
be
did.
coming in this woman's house, not knocking on her door.
Uh-huh.
He's like, punch his shit in a minute. And you're telling lies. So that's 3 strikes and you're out.
Well,
Ed
he's-
Harley.
He's got to get her on his side. If he's
Yeah.
like, well, a couple of the kids were kind of nice.
Yeah.
that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Fair enough.
But after a moment, Haggis asks him if he's ever heard of Razorback Hollow and tells him of an old graveyard deep within those woods. She says mountain folk used to bury kin there, kin that they were ashamed of. She tells him to bring a shovel because the thing he's looking for is in there. But he has to bring it back here as there are things that she has to do to it before it'll be of any use to him. But Ed asks how he'll know it's the right graveyard, and she tells him he'll know.
He just wants revenge now.
Oh, yeah, he's driven by
Yeah.
very, but
Which
I mean, shit.
get. I know. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah. At this point, I was going to be like, but it's like, no, why not? Like, why
Yeah.
not?
Honestly, I mean, and the thing about revenge and vengeance, very human emotions,
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's, again, very interesting. I thought a man in a pumpkin head mask was going to be chopping off heads and stuff.
Yeah.
We haven't even met the pumpkin.
No. Mr.
So,
Pumpkin.
yeah, I'm sorry. That's Mr. Pumpkinhead to you. So this is, again, not what I predicted.
Right.
But Ed goes to retrieve his son, but Haggis tells him to just leave him there. He does as he's told and exits the cabin. But later, Ed heads out from his truck and into the foggy night, shovel in hand. A wolf howls in the distance, and Ed is immediately jump scared by a vulture who may or may not have been giving him directions. He points with his beak, and Ed he goes that way.
It's like, everyone's so nice
Like,
here.
wow, Raven Hollow, huh? Or whatever.
He asked for a hint.
Yeah,
He's like, all right,
that's
all
right.
right, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Fuck.
much.
But he continues on, crossing through wooden poles, complete with hanging cloth and cleaned animal bones. He crosses a few more, and one skull definitely appears to be human.
Yeah.
And he just continues on. He finally reaches the graveyard, and I can only assume that this scene was directed by James Wan because the fog fucking takes over.
Yeah.
That's how you know something bad's going to happen.
The fog?
Yeah. And the fog is prevalent throughout.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
It honestly, I'm telling you right now, this is the one thing that I don't understand about this film, is it not taking place around Halloween?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Pumpkinhead. Look at it. Like, I mean, the atmosphere.
Look at it.
It's unbelievable. I think I read this
You're a
film
little
takes place.
aggressive.
Well, it takes place during the summer. I don't like it. This is a fucking Halloween film. I don't care what they say.
Well, we're covering it in October.
We're trying to make it right. We're righting these wrongs. But
Picking up the drop ball.
But through that fog, dozens of large pumpkins grow out of the ground. And this is when Ed sees it. At the center of it all is a large mound about 10 feet taller than the surrounding ground. The camera pulls back as Ed ascends it, standing tall above the graveyard. The score screeches as Ed digs his shovel in between the pumpkins and begins removing dirt by hand. His heartbeat in his ear, he rips through roots and reaches down into the ground, pulling out a decayed, skeletal corpse covered in maggots and worms. He slides down the platform, catching his breath and getting his mind right before climbing back up to get what he came for. Back at the cabin, Joel sits by the window, holding a rifle.
I'm sorry. The fact that we are sitting here and letting this happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's so baffling
No, it's
to
a
me.
so
lot.
on top of hitting the kid and all that. Now you have, and then kidnapping your friends. Now you got a rifle.
Yes.
What the?
And I'm sorry, but Steve was in the car with Tracy and Chris.
Yeah.
Clearly closer to them.
Yeah.
These are his friends.
Yes.
They're in the fucking pantry like, do you load 16 times?
Yeah.
And just fucking passing the time while his brother like clock this motherfucker in the head.
Yeah.
What do you get?
He's barely holding the rifle.
Yeah.
He's holding it by
Yeah.
the fucking barrel.
Oh
Oh,
my
shit,
God, that's
yeah.
so fucking funny.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
This is what I was saying earlier. The chokehold that he has on this
Yeah,
group. I don't.
No.
We could whoop his ass. There's
Absolutely.
3 people in here now, right? Outside of the room.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Come on. There's logs aplenty. You know, that's a viable weapon we've established.
I've seen it used. I don't know. And Steve, he just stands there next to him.
Yeah.
Complicit at this point.
No. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
he's-
that's the thing.
Yeah.
You're part of
And-
the problem.
That's why I was like, we've all fled at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that we're in this cabin, it's nighttime now.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all ran.
We're in the same
Yeah.
boat. But in the pantry, Tracy says that when they get out of here, Joel will be taking his balls home in a knapsack. Chris says to remind him to stay on her good side.
All right.
It's like,
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, very
You
good.
guys are
And I'm
great.
sorry, we're gonna be doing more than taking this dude's balls off or
No.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this is at least 4 charges, I'd say.
I mean, that's the thing.
Like,
Add kidnapping to the list
Yeah.
at this point.
like it's
That's
unbelievable.
what
This
saying,
is
what the
aggravated because
Yeah.
you've got a gun.
Uh-huh.
This is beyond.
Yeah.
We are no longer friends.
But in the other room, Steve offers to lie to the police and tell them that it was his bike that hit Billy. He says they'll probably just give him a slap on the wrist, but Joel refuses this offer.
But y'all have ran.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's a
Maybe if
little
you
late.
would have
Yeah.
stayed there, it would have been like, oh, but this is, I mean, Joel,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
you're a repeat offender. This is vehicular manslaughter
yeah.
Uh-huh.
and hit and run and kidnapping.
Yeah.
This is beyond. There is no taking the blame at
Yeah.
this point.
Reckless endangerment.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
He did drive Kim
and
to the cabin drunk.
And,
Yes.
yes,
Yes, he
exactly.
did,
yes.
Holy
Yeah.
shit. Maybe,
You really fucked yourself,
maybe
dude.
I understand why he's not starting to get this, dude.
You're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
It's going to be real bad. But Maggie sits catatonic on the couch, and Kim says that she's starting to worry about her.
Starting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
I guess it's at a word in 6 hours.
But Ed arrives back at Haggis's cabin, the strange corpse in the fetal position in his arms. He sets it down at an altar in front of Haggis at her request. With long-fingered hands, she pours a liquid and adds ingredients to a mortar. Ed asks what the corpse even is, and Haggis tells him it's what he wanted. She says for each man's evil, a special demon exists. He is currently looking at vengeance. Cruel, devious, pure as venom, vengeance.
God damn.
Yeah.
All right.
It also is not lost on me the fact that I feel like in another film, Ed would put a pumpkin on and go and murder all of them.
Absolutely.
The fact that he's like, no, I know someone probably better suited for this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm going to field this one out.
Well.
Bring a supernatural bend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, there's a couple things here. Firstly was that the alternate title of Pumpkinhead was Vengeance, the Demon.
No. Nah. Nah.
Just off the rip.
Yeah. Nah.
It doesn't have the ring to it.
No.
For sure.
I don't think people would go and see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was anybody else surprised that Pumpkinhead was a baby?
Oh, yeah. We got to grow this thing.
Yeah.
I think, but the other thing is there's the implication of what she's saying.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
every one of them.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like when I watched this, I kind of glossed over.
Yeah.
And it's kind of made more apparent in the end, and we'll get to that.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like, so this isn't necessarily the same thing that Ed saw as a child?
Maybe not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if this had been successful, you have avenues of all these different.
Oh, yeah.
You have a PCU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this
Well,
could
PHC.
be this is like a 7 deadly sins thing.
Yeah.
even. Like there's a lot that could be done here.
It's kind of a shame.
I mean, there is a frame. I haven't seen the other ones. Maybe they're great.
No.
Although I've heard that they're not. But who knows?
Yeah. I think there's 4.
Yeah.
Total.
Damn.
See, I didn't know about the latest 2.
Uh-huh.
I've seen this one, like I said, the second one a few times. The other 2, I had no idea that they existed.
Maybe we'll get to
But
them.
yeah,
I'm sure we will.
have to watch those. Check them
Yeah.
out first. Yeah.
We'll see. But Haggis takes Ed's hand and stabs into it. His blood leaks into the mortar, and she carries it over to Billy's body. She cuts his hand too, his blood mixing with his father's.
Ed said, "Ow!" What are you nuts?
Is that 2 weeks in a row that you got
Yes,
anything to remind you?
I will
Yeah.
shoehorn Madeline Ashton wherever I can.
But Haggis brings the mortar back over to the corpse, pouring the contents into a small container and then pouring that into the corpse's mouth. The concoction sizzles and smoke rises from the corpse's lips. As the corpse's hand cracks open, coming to life, Ed is overcome, or possibly from the blood loss, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he collapses.
Either way.
The creature tears through its wrapping, revealing smooth skin, a rising chest, and a bullum head. Its shadow grows against the wall, changing shape and becoming larger and more monstrous. As it rises up, we see its skeletal back and sharp elbows protrude as it stands triumphantly. They don't say it yet, but this is Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
I find it odd that they didn't say that.
No.
That she's like, well,
They're like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
see, I thought this was Vengeance the Demon. But Pumpkinhead is played by Tom Woodruff Jr. Ed moans a bit, passing out, but after some time he comes to, Haggis standing over him, and she tells him that he can leave because now it begins.
Yeah, it's like, you didn't do it. You didn't put your toe in my mouth or anything. Did you?
Anything weird while I was... But okay, so Pumpkinhead the creature. I learned from that article I read, as well as a couple of behind-the-scenes videos from Winston's school. Pumpkinhead was originally supposed to look like a cosmic horror monster, so I'm guessing tentacles and stuff. And then they did lean on the name Pumpkinhead,
Yeah.
and it was literally going to be Ed goes out, finds a corpse, cuts the corpse head off,
Uh-huh.
and then Haggis plants a pumpkin onto his head, and it's an actual like evil jack-o'-lantern,
Okay.
like Sleepy Hollow.
Right, right.
And honestly, that would have been pretty
That would
fucking
have been
cool.
very cool.
I would have loved to have seen that. But what we get is very cool in its own right.
Right.
The creature was designed by the man who plays him, Woodruff
Oh, wow.
Jr.,
Yeah.
and a guy called Alec Gillis. These two were the leads on it. They worked for Winston at his workshop, and they got a lot of leeway
Uh-huh.
with what to do. The cool thing about it, though, is that Woodruff Jr. and Alec Gillis would go on to start Amalgamated Dynamics, which we've talked about because of both Tremors and Death Becomes Her.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's cool.
amazing.
That is
Yeah.
so fucking cool.
But they said that they started with sketches because there's like 3 different versions of Pumpkinhead
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah.
And so they have to sculpt it, do the foam.
Yeah.
And while they're doing it, Woodruff Jr. is learning how to use all the apparatuses because he's going to be playing it.
Oh, all right.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
just
That's nice.
It was incredible to watch
Yeah.
them behind the scenes and actually do this stuff. He controls like the head. I was a little demystified because the eye holes are in the neck,
Oh.
and so the head is just on top of his head.
Yeah.
I was like, he's not looking through the eye holes. But it's very cool, and to see them work on it and to see how much work they put into it.
Oh, yeah.
And it does kind of look like a xenomorph,
A little bit, yeah.
but they did make it like the skin tone is supposed to like kind of look like the skin's tones after death.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's not black. It's not,
Right.
So
No, it's very fucking cool. I really appreciate the evolution of it throughout the film.
Yeah.
yeah.
And we've talked about it before. I think this just really speaks to giving people creative control over what they're creating.
For sure.
Because I mean, this looks fucking great. Like
Oh,
even if
yeah.
the rest of this movie was subpar or even not good, you cannot walk away from this saying that Pumpkinhead did not look fucking cool.
No, and when it snarls, like you see emotion in its face.
Yeah.
They said that was radio controlled. Like the things that they could do, and this is 1988.
Yeah.
I know that they did a bunch of stuff before, and they even worked on The Thing and all this stuff uncredited.
It's so
Yeah.
impressive.
But like seeing this in action, and honestly, in all fairness, I did miss just a flat out pumpkin. I
Yeah.
will say that. But this is the next best
Well,
thing.
he came out of a patch.
He did.
Yeah.
That's close enough.
It's gonna have to work.
This is all we got. But
That's one thing that I always remembered from these movies as a kid was Pumpkinhead. Like I said, the story, I might have forgotten, what goes on or like how the movies played out, but I always remembered what he looked like and
Yeah.
how badass he was.
well, it's kind of. I mean, I know it's a cult film, but it's iconic in its own way.
Yeah.
Like this is a creature to remember.
Oh yeah. We had watched a video before we had started recording. I apologize. I forgot what the name of the channel was. But they were showing the legs and the stuff them when they were creating Pumpkinhead, and they said that the legs he had originally were for the xenomorph.
No shit.
But it didn't work with the way the xenomorph walked and was crawling around and everything. So they redid them, but when they made this movie, they still had those. So they used the original xenomorph legs, which is Pumpkinhead's legs, to cut costs and save money
That's just nuts.
in the
It's-
creature design.
It's smart and it
Yeah.
fits.
And they had said because the budget was low.
yeah.
It's like $3 million.
Yeah.
And they had said that Stan Winston found ways to cut costs to stretch the budget. And I guess that's it.
The channel is Minty Comedic Arts.
Okay.
And he was talking about that in there, and I thought that was really interesting.
No,
I was
it's
like,
That's
that's
neat.
very
pretty
cool. Yeah.
And it's funny because if you think about it, if you were to paint Pumpkinhead black,
Yeah.
I mean,
On
It's the
cover,
vibe. For sure.
but we see Ed driving home, nodding off as he does, resting his hand on his son's body in the passenger seat. He almost causes a head-on collision, but pulls off to the side of the road, catching his breath. Just then, Billy lurches up out of the blanket, glasses on his face and his skin gray. He looks over to Ed and asks him, "What did you do, Daddy?" Ed closes his eyes tightly, and when he opens them, he finds his son still dead beneath the blanket.
This is devastating.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I did read that when Lance Henriksen was reading the script, he was not convinced that he even wanted to do this. And when he read this scene, he was like, okay,
Oh, wow.
this is what made him commit.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of emotion here.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're Lance Henriksen, you get a script called Pumpkinhead.
Fair. That's fair.
Like I was in Aliens, motherfucker. So I get it. But I gotta say, that's one of the major pluses of this film is Lance Henriksen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
adds like such, there's a weight to it.
And it's realistic.
Yes.
Like I could see this role going cheesy action hero
Oh,
very
yeah.
quickly.
Sure. Yeah.
And he grounds it in such a way that it's like is like a believable grieving
Oh, yeah.
father
Oh, yeah.
hungry for revenge. Like he sells that.
But back in the cabin, Steve paces around but stops when he settles on a plan. He says, "Fuck it. Why don't we just kidnap Chris and Tracy and head to Mexico?" I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not.
Yeah.
I don't either. And once again, why are we deferring to Joel?
Yeah.
If we think about this logically, not only can we overpower him and whip his ass, he's the only one on the hook for this.
Yeah.
Honestly.
All we got to do is say he had a gun, he made us leave.
And that's not far from the truth.
Yeah.
Bart did it. I mean, obviously, I don't know. Fuck this dude.
No, yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Fuck this dude.
But surprisingly, Maggie gets up and steps outside the cabin. Steve follows after, but only after telling Joel that he needs to do the right thing and he needs to do it now. As we said before, Joel, he's kind of sitting there, not really completely paying attention.
Yeah.
I just rip that gun out of his hands.
Not paying attention.
While another one's kicking him in the face. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Maggie's up and about now.
Yeah.
Let's talk to her, get her on board.
Yeah.
We'll come back.
This is 3-on-1.
Yeah,
I mean, simple math.
It just makes no sense.
Kick that log out from under the thing. 5-on-1.
Yeah, done.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Dude, while he's literally staring out the window, you can rescue, and instead you're like, let's kidnap him. Yeah. It's like, is this dude serious? What the fuck?
So we're starting over in Mexico.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking
Sounds
about?
like a plan. Like, I just don't get it. But we then cut to a shot of a gravestone for Betty Lynn Harley, Ed's wife. He stands before it, telling her that those kids killed their boy, and now they're going to pay. The camera pulls back to reveal Ed is digging a plot next to his wife's to bury his son. I'm like, he's a widower too?
Yeah, it's too much.
Like, Jesus.
It's heartbreaking. But I'm like, so we're keeping the authorities just all the way out of this.
Yeah. Well, I also don't think I know Mr. Wallace seems to have some authority and he told you to bury your son.
Yeah.
But I think there's channels you have to go through.
You can't just do that.
You can't just bury a body either.
No.
Like, none of this. Do they have a police or hospital in this town?
But that's the thing, right?
know.
Because they said that it started in 1957.
Yeah.
Which kind of had the vibe of 1857. But who's counting? But this is supposed to be present day.
Yeah.
I understand that, we pass through them all the time around us.
Yeah.
There are these little towns that, it's a post office and a fucking couple houses and then you're out of it.
Right.
But there is some kind of sheriff, even in a neighboring town.
Yeah.
There's something.
Yeah.
I'm so if these kids are able to listen to like Duran Duran on their road trip, there's a hospital nearby.
Yeah, no shit.
There's just no way. It's 1988, dude.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
What the fuck? Purple Rain was out.
If there was real cops able to get out to the Texas Chainsaw,
Yes.
they
You've got
should
no
have
excuse.
cops here.
Come on,
You've got
dude.
no excuse.
Come on. But Steve catches up with Maggie outside, a little ways away from the cabin in the dark. Fog billows around them as Steve grabs Maggie's crucifix necklace and holds it directly in front of her face.
I was like, don't y'all see the fog? Something bad's about to happen. But again, this is another moment. And I'll talk more about it later. I'm sure y'all are excited for it, but
why do you frame it like that?
He holds up this cross and I'm like, okay, that's going to be the key
Yeah.
to defeating Pumpkinhead.
I'm telling you right now.
I'll say right now that I was wrong.
And
because
we
something
will.
happens later that fucking killed me.
But Steve reminds her that she always gathered strength from her crucifix and that she needs to find that strength now and come back to him. As he does this, a shadowed figure peers out at them from between the trees. But finally, Maggie says Steve's name and he hugs her. He tells her that he's sure that the boy is going to be fine and that he's sure his father has taken care of everything. That part's true.
Yeah. Sure has.
The second part is accurate.
50-50. But just as a moment of calm washes over Maggie's face, a large clawed hand reaches down from the trees, sinking into Steve's back and pulls him up as Maggie screams.
He didn't waste no time, huh?
No.
No. He's like, I'm awake.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here to do my job. I'm
Right.
gonna go do that. Go back to bed.
Yeah.
Back to bed. He's on a mission.
Yeah.
I was just like, damn, though, because really nobody did anything really wrong except for Joel.
Right.
Like these people, this is like textbook guilty by association.
Right.
And I guess they are guilty by association because they really let him call the shots on this whole
they did.
situation, which is bullshit. But I was like, this dude doesn't deserve this.
I did laugh because I was thinking, I was like, dude, if Steve is his first target, they're all fucked. Like,
Steve is the one that's,
that's it.
Steve's the one that stayed with him.
Yeah. He was the only one who like really, it's unbelievable.
Nobody has any hope.
But in the graveyard, Ed hears echoes of those screams, collapsing to his knees as an orange haze takes over everything.
And that's when the acid kicked in. I was like, oh, Ed's tripping.
I was like, what the fuck?
There he goes.
His nose begins to bleed, and we see Steve drop down from the tree right in front of Maggie. She tries to rescue him, but his beaten, bloody body is dragged away once again and pulled back up into the tree. I was thinking this, I was like, dude, so the spell that they used Pumpkinhead was able to find them from that.
Oh, yeah.
And like what we learned later with Ed, I think that Haggis should have given out a couple warnings.
Yeah.
It's like, now there will be side effects.
Yeah.
There should have been a waiver to sign.
Yeah.
No shit.
She's like, and initial here. Because fuck
Cover
no.
your own ass, Haggis.
Yeah,
Oh,
good
yeah.
lord. But Ed gets back to his feet and catches his breath. There is no explanation yet as to what just happened.
No.
But we kind of learn a little bit. And again, it's so strange.
The fine print.
Yeah,
The fine print.
the very fine print. That is one thing that I will say about this folklore. I like the folklore.
Yeah.
I don't like the constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Like, well, actually, this is
Yeah.
like, what? Because there's one shot that I literally said, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I couldn't believe it. We'll talk about it in a bit. But back at the cabin, Joel holds Kim's hand, and with a smile, he says that he's always been a fuck up his entire life, but he says that it stops now. He then gets up and removes the barricade from the pantry door. He opens the door, and rather than rushing him or anything like that, Tracy and Chris just walk out comfortably.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about.
And they kind of give him a look like, that'll do, pick. It's like, are you what happened to his balls being a purse or whatever?
Yeah,
I know.
This is when I'm like, no.
No.
You don't get to do this. You're not humanizing this dude.
Yeah.
This is not a redemption arc because he's like, you know what? I'm going to be a good person.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah. He's like,
I was like, you're really not expecting me to
Yeah.
swallow
no.
this, right?
Because he decides, I'm going to set my captives free.
Yeah. No.
It's like, wow, Joel is a great guy.
Yeah.
No,
That'll do, pig.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Everything that you did is still true.
Yeah.
You still put your hands on your girlfriend.
Yes.
And that other woman that he pushed to the fucking couch.
It's,
You
yeah.
still
Yeah.
you knocked out your friend. You kidnapped your other two friends. Like
Yeah.
this is just it's beyond. You don't get to just be like, I was
All
acting
right.
crazy. I'm done being a fuck up. No.
And without any kind of like, there was no prodding from Kim.
No.
Yeah.
He just came to this realization himself.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Unbelievable. But just then, Maggie bursts into the cabin screaming for help. They all rush to her aid and ask her what's going on, and she simply says, it's killing him. We then get a quick cut of Steve getting fucked up against a tree.
Yeah.
They're like, what's going on? And then
It's like, I'll
Steve-
show you what's going on.
Yeah.
Steve's just getting his ass whooped.
Pumpkinhead just working the body.
It's tough. And he hits the ground all hard. It's like, God damn. But Joel gives Chris the rifle and arms himself with a machete to go look for Steve. They search around as Joel assumes seemingly that it's townsfolk that are fucking
Yeah.
with them. But we cut back to the cabin where Maggie prays for their safety. Tracy tells her that it wasn't the devil that she saw out there, but Maggie insists that it was. Kim starts to speak, but Maggie screams that she saw it, and Kim just shuts up immediately. She's like, all right, fuck it.
Sure, it was
Yeah,
a devil.
There's no talking to you. But at his home and surrounded by red and orange light, Ed washes his face and snags some liquor. Gypsy looks on, probably upset that it's come to this, but still taking no responsibility for anything. But back at the cabin, Kim asks if the guys will be all right, considering that they took the gun. But Maggie says that God is the only thing that can stop what's out there. It's like, what happened to you not talking?
Well, God doesn't feel like it,
Yeah.
clearly. Because
Clearly sleeping.
Steve didn't do anything.
But Tracy heads into the kitchen to look for a knife, but through the window, we see Pumpkinhead creep by, partially obscured by curtains. I thought this was very smart. You're still leaving stuff to the imagination.
Yeah.
You're not showing this thing full out, because there is a moment later where you finally, in all of its glory,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So save that, and that's really wise. But Tracy finds a couple of meat cleavers, readying herself with them just in case God doesn't show. I thought that was good.
That is good.
She made me laugh. But outside, Joel and Chris continue their search until they find what appears to be entrails hanging from a tree. Joel touches them and discovers that they're fresh and bloody, and he goes, "Oh, Steve." But then he suggests that they hightail it back to the cabin. Once they get back, they bust open the door, and you best believe they almost get cleaved. Like,
What?
immediately.
Yeah.
Why are you breaking down the door like that?
Yeah. You gotta
Aren't y'all
close
gonna
it.
shelter
Yeah.
in here?
Unannounced.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
But Tracy thankfully stops herself before committing today's second accidental murder. They ask where Steve is, and Chris, with the shiftiest eyes, technically doesn't lie when he says that they couldn't find him.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, Steve, man, he's got guts.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
He's the fastest kid alive. He's got guts. That's good. It's like, why are you making puns with your...
Answer me directly.
But in a very oddly and poorly dubbed sequence, the group argues over what to do next. Tracy says that they should leave, but Maggie says that they can't leave without Steve. Tracy reminds her that they don't know what's out there, but Maggie says that Steve is out there. Joel agrees with her and says that they're going to find him.
Joel's like, I'm good now.
Yeah.
Damn it.
What's weird to me is he saw the guts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we really just going to pretend that that wasn't probably your brother?
That could
Sure.
have belonged to
Yeah.
any Steve out here.
Yeah.
We don't know. The DNA still hasn't come back.
But Maggie immediately runs out of the cabin, but as soon as she does, Steve's slashed and mangled corpse swings upside down from the roof above, blocking her exit.
So Pumpkinhead has a sense of humor
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
because none of that is necessary.
Not at all. There comes
you
a
know.
point. Well, there comes a point later where he's just doing like clown shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
This was enough because I'm like, well, maybe he's like still murdering him up there.
Yeah.
And he just he just dipped down.
He slipped out of his hands.
Yeah, but later on, it's like, oh, you're just having
Yeah.
fun. You're a demon, dude.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, but he's awake now.
that's
Yeah.
true.
It's like, I get to do what I want.
So I've been saving these jokes up for
Yeah.
since 57. But Steve's body drops down as Maggie screams, and a clawed hand reaches down, grabbing her by the hair and pulling her up. The wind whips around them as they watch Maggie's legs disappear over the other side of the roof. Tracy runs after her, and Chris follows behind with the gun. But back at home, Ed hears all of this happening in real time. The room then goes hazy again, the colors becoming more saturated. Ed then watches through the eyes of Pumpkinhead as his claws slash a crude crucifix into Maggie's face. Which again, I was like, why has he got so much character? And like,
Yeah.
he's like, where's your Messiah now? It's like, oh my God.
It's great.
You were listening?
Well, he was by the tree.
Yeah.
This got me. I mean, speaking of like Steve not really deserving what he got,
Right.
Maggie, albeit slowly, did try to help Billy.
She did.
Yeah.
She tried to help little boy.
Yeah.
She did. She was in fucking like a catatonic shock
Right.
when this
Uh-huh.
happened. She didn't deserve this either.
No.
No, and then she gets her shit mocked and everything.
Yeah. And let me mock your beliefs on the way
Yeah.
down. Like, God damn.
Just seems like a lot.
Yeah. But Ed didn't see any of that. He when he got there, it was just Steve.
Uh-huh.
Everybody else was already gone.
You know what? And so, well,
So to him, it looks like everybody took off,
Just
but
fled.
him.
But again, Steve, this is why you're like, they went to get help. Like he's just like,
yeah,
man,
he should have said
Yeah.
something. I don't know why he.
wait, so is Ed's blood like Steve first?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
Like, get
understand.
that one.
Yeah. I just don't get how this works.
I don't know.
Or is it, I mean, we learned something later because the myth keeps changing.
Yeah, it does.
They did
It does.
help
yeah.
Joel in a weird way, but they really didn't. I mean, when
Yeah,
you think about
I
it.
don't-
I mean, they were complicit to a point because Joel should not have gotten as far as he got.
No.
And y'all allowed this
Yeah.
to happen. So, I mean, stand up to your friends, I guess is the
Sure.
lesson I'm getting.
What are the rules is all I'm trying. But we see Ed grab his gun before cutting back to the thick of it all, Tracy and Chris continuing to run in pursuit of Maggie. Chris asks if she saw something out there, and she thinks that she did, but she isn't sure. Meanwhile, Maggie lies on the ground at the bent back legs of Pumpkinhead, who smiles a fanged grin. Ed, now driving his truck, starts vibing with Pumpkinhead again. And his nose starts to bleed. Inside the cabin.
He was vibing.
He
on
was.
it.
Yeah, he
Which,
was.
again, where was Haggis?
I think he came a little bit.
Oh,
He was,
God. Jesus.
mean,
this is what it's like.
Christ. So, can
It
we
did
have...
sound there. T, for as much as you clutch your pearls, there was a running joke whenever we would watch a movie. If anybody screamed or made any kind of weird sound, T would go, "Is that how we? Is that how she?" So
Well-
I thought that when this moment of vibing was happening.
Hey, what we're not going to do is,
Why you bringing up bullshit?
throw my old jokes back in my face. Order in this court. Oh. Anyway, inside the cabin, Kim covers Steve's corpse and cradles a silent and broken Joel. Ed parks his truck, snagging his rifle and taking labored steps towards Haggis's cabin. He makes it inside and immediately collapses to the floor. Haggis tells him that it'll pass and he should just let it finish. He begs her to make it stop, but she reminds him that this is what he wanted. He bellows, "Not like this."
Yeah, I didn't know it would hurt me. Like, you never said that.
Now you got a lawsuit on your hands.
Yes.
But he says that he now sees that it is wrong. But Haggis says that there's nothing she can do about it, and it just has to run its course. She asks if he thought it would be easy, neat and clean and painless. She calls him a fool, but a resolute Ed says that if she won't help him, he'll just do it himself. Not as supportive as he hoped, Haggis tells him that not only will he fail, but he'll die too.
Thanks, Haggis.
Appreciate it. Now, this made me laugh, but he says, "God damn you." And she goes, "He already has."
Just let him finish what he's doing, man.
I'm all the way here for Haggis.
Yeah, that's a great line. But as Tracy and Chris continue their search for Maggie, Kim hears a noise outside of the cabin. The camera lifts over the kitchen counter to reveal Maggie's body being held up outside the window in the whipping wind. Lightning strikes as Pumpkinhead pushes her face to the window before eventually crashing through it. He puts her body on the counter and then he just backs away like, "You guys can keep that."
I fucking love that.
It's like, what?
What was that for?
I don't know.
Here's your trash.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God. But Kim faints and Joel approaches the body as it bleeds into the kitchen sink. Uncertain of his next move, he eventually grabs a machete from the counter and heads outside. Once out there, he finds Steve's dirt bike at the end of the porch, just kind of smoking and busted.
Yeah.
Well, clearly Pumpkinhead has sabotaged the vehicles.
Yes.
Yeah.
She faints and he just gets up and leaves.
Yeah. He fucking just took off.
I thought you were the good guy now, dude.
Yeah.
Well, she's fine where she is.
Just play dead.
Yeah. But Joel screams into the night, "I'm the one you want." But after getting no reply and not being scooped up by a monster, he retreats into the cabin. Crickets chirp in the silence as Joel notices flashing lights coming from the hallway. He slowly creeps toward it, but with a low rumble, out steps Pumpkinhead. Standing at least 8 feet tall and drool pouring from its mouth like a xenomorph, Pumpkinhead reaches for Kim's body, but Joel attacks him with the machete. He doesn't even get one slash in, though, because Pumpkinhead just grabs his arm and throws him back.
Yeah.
You had to know.
Yeah.
You really think that thing, you think that's going to be a fair fight, that you have any chance?
And seeing it now,
I'm like, come on, dude.
I was like, yeah, you can have her. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Kim.
We're sorry for all we did. But Joel tumbles over the counter, only able to watch as it then grabs Kim by the face and drags her away. He rushes outside, meeting up with Tracy and Chris, telling them that it took Kim. They don't really understand the concept of a monster.
Yeah.
They still think it's some kind of man, but Joel tells them that it's a thing. But the group rushes off to find Pumpkinhead perched in a very tall tree, holding Kim by her head. The group watches as from a great height, Pumpkinhead lets her go, and she falls to her death on a large rock. The Midsummer treatment.
Yeah.
But Chris pulls Joel away from Kim's body, telling him that they have to go. Just then, Ed arrives at their cabin with his rifle, finding the corpses of Maggie and Steve.
He's very underwhelmed.
Yeah.
But it's just like the Gordon Ramsay. damn.
Yeah.
Like, that's all he really gives it.
It's really not, again, we need bigger, like, it's like these people have been through this before.
Yes. It's just almost hilarious, to be honest.
But he sits in a chair, kind of reckoning with the choices that he's made before finally standing up and leaving the cabin. And I do think, like, if he wasn't given these, like, POV treatments, I think that he would have just let it happen and, like, read about this in the paper tomorrow.
Yeah.
But instead, since he's seeing it. But then again, that's kind of a flaw on Pumpkinhead's part.
Yeah.
Because even if you watch, like, Killer for Hire stuff, the people are always like, no, don't tell me when you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But Pumpkinhead's like, no, you get a front row seat. Which is really counterproductive.
You made this decision. Yeah.
It is what you asked for, but this is how you get people to try to stop you.
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead's like, I'm not doing everything. Like, you're coming too.
I wouldn't even be awake right now. But Tracy, Chris, and Joel continue on in the night until they find another cabin. They knock on the doors and scream for help, but nobody answers. After a while, Old Hill Woman, played by Madeline Taylor Holmes, peers at them through the window. Now, I was very curious about this actress because she's a named actress.
Yeah.
And it's a role that has 0 lines.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to see what else she had done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, this was her final role before she passed away.
Oh.
But she was in films in the past with Gregory Peck
Oh, shit.
and Clint Eastwood.
Whoa.
God damn.
I was like, and you give her nothing?
Yeah.
Well, she's like, I just want to be here.
I guess. She couldn't even be like, go away or whatever.
You guys are having a lot of fun. Let me go.
Yeah, I want the Pumpkinhead you said.
Yeah.
But I also read her brother Taylor was in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes with Marilyn Monroe.
God damn.
Yeah. And we just talked about it on Creep and No Sleep on Patreon. But her father was in the 1934 version of Great Expectations. And he played Pip. So I could not mention that. But again, I was like, why is she not doing more?
Yeah.
But in a very strange moment, Chris asks Joel where Steve is. Joel says, now don't be mad. And Chris hugs him and he tells him that Steve is dead.
Yeah.
We know all of this.
I know. And this happens again in a couple minutes. Where I'm like, why are you telling us this again?
Like, it's just double, like, the audience, this is the padding.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Yeah.
But the group continues on, eventually finding a parked truck. Unfortunately, it's locked. Hillman, played by Greg Michaels, spots them, though, and fires his gun into the sky as a deterrent. With his dog next to him, he forces Chris to drop his gun and tells them all to get away from him.
Real quick. So you have a gun. I have a gun. There's more of us than there is of you.
Yeah.
Why the fuck did you throw the gun down?
He was like, you got to bust.
Yeah.
just
like
immediately.
Just like, okay. What the fuck
I
are
don't
you
know.
doing?
But then again, I mean, Chris has kind of been shown to not really stand up to anyone, really.
Yeah,
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's okay. I still think my problem with this is that this man should have been the man that they passed on the road.
Yeah.
Because who the fuck is this guy? Like,
you're right.
You know?
This is where, like, again, I love the folk lore aspect of this, but after a certain point, it's just like, it almost does feel like padding now that you said that.
Yeah.
And then there's a moment. We'll get to it, but it is the funniest shit I've ever seen.
But Chris tries to explain that something is chasing them and begs to use his truck. The hillman refuses and tells them to get off his land. After Tracy asks for help again, he says that he can't help them. They've been marked. Tracy struggles to understand, but this is when out of nowhere, Pumpkinhead makes its presence known. Hillman gets the fuck out of there. He even leaves his dog behind.
I mean, don't leave the dog behind, but yes, get the fuck out of there.
But as Pumpkinhead slowly descends on them, it takes a bullet to the shoulder. The group turns around to find Ed saving all of their asses. After another shot, Pumpkinhead falls back, seemingly dead, but this is clearly too easy.
Yeah, no, y'all know better than that.
Come on.
Pumpkinhead's like, I thought we were on the same fucking team.
Yeah, you hired me. But against the protests of his friends, Joel approaches Pumpkinhead's body and kicks it to see if it's dead or not.
so fucking stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Not only it took it in the shoulder, right?
Yeah, it's not even.
Not only that, the mere existence of this thing implies that there are supernatural things at work. He's like, no, by like logically. He's like, no, that's not. You're fucking dumb.
He's like, this is that old guy in a costume.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Don't walk over to it.
But he then shoots it in the chest, going all action hero, and he goes, it's dead.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Shut up.
But of course, it's not dead, and it grabs Joel by the leg, forcing him to the ground. Ed, at the worst possible time, begins to warg out as Pumpkinhead again.
Yeah.
And Pumpkinhead reaches its feet, holding Joel's rifle. Rather than shooting him, though, Pumpkinhead impales him in the gut with it.
Yeah, Mr. Pumpkinhead, you're using it wrong. He's like, no, not like that.
No,
He's like,
he gets the job done. I was like, are you Gak? Here's your rifle. But Tracy and Chris scream as Joel is lifted from the ground and his neck is broken. Tracy and Chris then run away as Pumpkinhead kind of plays with Joel's jelly neck for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? I was like, Joel's really the one that we were after, so we're done now, right?
No.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news, man. And that was weird to me too, because you would think that he would save for last.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just murdering.
Joel needs to be first or last.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't need to be in the middle.
I think as long as they go, the job gets done. Yeah.
But poetic justice.
One would think. But very oddly, Hillman's dog attacks Ed, chomping into his arm, and it appears Pumpkinhead feels it a little bit.
I laughed because the dog was like, "Did you bring his ass here?"
It's like my dad told you to get the fuck out of here. My thing is that this is the point that I'm realizing they're kind of starting to play fast and loose with the rules.
Right.
You're like fine if you want him to kind of be a remote viewer to this.
Right.
That's okay. But now his pain
now we're
is Pumpkinhead's pain.
Yeah.
Where the fuck? When was that established?
It wasn't.
Okay. But after her standard horror movie fall, Chris picks Tracy up, telling her that whatever is out there isn't going to get them. They scream for help as they continue running away. But at the Wallace's place, Mr. Wallace sits at a table with two uncredited women surrounded by random family members. He calls Bunt away from the window, who says that he's worried about the animals. But Mr. Wallace assures him that it only kills what it is called upon to kill. He says, well, them and whatever gets in its way. Again, the rules are changing. And I think I don't know if it was their way of letting us know that Ed's in danger too now.
Yeah.
Because now he's fucking around with Pumpkinhead.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like it goes, you know what I mean? The reason that if I'm trying to get my job done and you get in the way, I kind of got to move you out of the way now.
Stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah. But, you wanted to fuck around. You found out,
That's the equation,
yes.
I believe. But Ethan tells Bunt to get away from the window and go to bed. Chris then begins banging on the door as Tracy begs for help. When the Wallaces pretend not to be home, Tracy slinks to the ground, cradled by a hopeless Chris. But back inside, Bunt goes to bed, but we see him getting dressed to leave. Essie notices this and asks what he's doing. After getting her to swear not to tell, Bunt tells her that he's going to go help those folks because he needs to know if it's all just a story.
You should have told your sister that you're kind of the reason that this is happening.
Honestly, yeah.
I'm responsible, so I'm going to go check this out.
Well, I get leaving that part out.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. But he does assure her that their grandpa won't find out and promises to be careful before sneaking out the window. With a flashlight, Bunt gets the attention of Tracy and Chris, who are still having a pity party outside. Well, they were kind of crumbled. Yeah. I was like, get over it. Move on. But,
there are other farmhouses.
Yeah, just keep going. But Tracy recognizes him as the boy outside the grocery store, but Bunt immediately gets curious. He asks, did you see it? What's it look like? Is it big? Chris grabs him and he's like, who the fuck are you?
I don't understand why he's being so aggressive when you've asked for help at this point and nobody's willing to even talk to you.
And
this dude at least is coming up to you and being like, I am acknowledging that this thing is real.
Yeah.
And he's like, who the fuck are you? Like,
what
why?
confuses me is that this is the boy that you said, hey, to.
Yeah.
You don't remember? I know it's been a long day. You're probably delirious from being in that pantry. But still, dude.
That was my thing. It was like, you're being really rough with this kid, and he's just trying to help you.
He's the only one.
Yeah.
But Bunt reintroduces himself, saying that he's trying to help him. He says everyone inside heard them knocking and screaming, but they're not going to help because they can't get involved. Tracy and Chris have plenty of questions, but Bunt says that they can't talk about it here, but says that he'll take them somewhere that might be safe, so they follow him cautiously. But back at the Hill People farm, Ed approaches Joel's corpse and removes the rifle sticking out of his midsection. But instead of taking it to use against Pumpkinhead, he just throws it to the ground.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Why'd you even do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, you could have left that there.
He then kneels down and he holds Joel's head in both of his hands regretfully. He then stands up, and that's the end of that scene for some reason. I thought he'd have more to say.
Yeah,
no. Like, vengeance be thy or whatever. You know? Something.
He's a man of few words.
He's like, yeah, he's dead. That's just it. But Tracy and Chris follow Bunt to a graveyard and the ruins of an old church building. Bunt says that they tried to start a congregation here a few years back, and it clearly didn't work out. But considering it's a holy place, that creature probably wouldn't like it here.
For sure. He definitely will be deterred by such a holy building.
Foolproof, for sure. But they head inside the skeleton of the old building, and they ask to know more about the creature. Bunt says that he thinks it's some kind of demon, and he didn't even believe in it before tonight. He thought it was just some story used to scare children, but tonight, when the sun went down, his grandpa gathered the entire family, told them some out-of-town folks had done something terrible, and that Pumpkinhead was going to be out tonight to get them. He says it's called that because it comes from the old pumpkin patch graveyard.
Thank you for the for the explanation, Grandpa.
Well, they asked for more, and he's like, "No, if you want to know about his name."
Yeah.
They almost called him Vengeance. The demon.
I just don't think this is important right now.
Not really.
He's trying to share.
I guess so.
He's like, and me, I got my name off a cake.
God, I'm fucking lightheaded.
We all got stories.
Yeah.
But Bunt says that he doesn't know what they did, but it must have been really bad. The old legend, which we have heard a couple times already now, says that if a man is wronged, he can summon Pumpkinhead to seek vengeance on his behalf. Tracy and Chris look uneasy, but it hits Chris, the kid from The Stand.
No.
Really? Really, man?
No fucking way,
God.
Chris.
Bunt is a little confused.
Why? Why?
I don't know.
This is what annoyed me.
I do not know.
Why is Bunt confused?
But Tracy explains what happened to Billy, and the realization hits Bunt. He took Ed himself to see Haggis the Witch.
Yeah.
Tracy's like, well, is his son okay? Bunt says that if Pumpkinhead is after them, no.
Yeah.
I'm fucking dead.
And I'm sorry, dude, but after everything that's happened today, if I see something supernatural, I'm going to assume it has something to do with that fucking kid that Joel murdered. But maybe I'm crazy.
And Bunt, you were there. His body was in the truck when you took him to Haggis.
Right? Remember the $10?
This is when he has the crumpled $10 bill. This is when I'm like, do they think that we got lost?
I don't know.
So they're trying to explain it to us.
It's incredibly straightforward.
But this killed me, and then I just...
Okay.
Please continue, because oh my God.
But Bunt asks about their friends, and Chris tells him that they're all dead. But with renewed vigor, Chris has a plan. He asks if Bunt knows the spot on Bradley Mountain where folks park their cars. Bunt does, considering he's a local, but Chris asks if he can take them there. Just then, the wind whips something fierce and lightning flashes around them. Light beaming through the splintered walls of the busted church, Pumpkinhead stands in the doorway. Before we get into what is about to happen, I just wanted to say I thought this was a really good shot.
Yes.
I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
The director of photography was Bojan Bazelli.
Yeah.
He shot the American remake of The Ring as well.
Oh, shit.
all right.
Okay.
So he's got a pretty cool filmography, but Pumpkinhead just stands there, appearing unable.
Yeah.
Because it's holy ground.
Yeah.
Yes. He doesn't advance. You're like, oh, it's hollowed ground. But then it's like, nah, just fucking with you.
Yeah.
And walks right inside.
Oh yeah.
I fucking died.
I was like, are you serious?
Oh, that's the
And then it
best
only gets
thing.
worse.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Because it takes labored steps. I was like, well, is he just slowing him down? Or like the power of Christ compelling him a little bit? But no. The crew wastes no time finding an exit out of the back. But still in the church. Pumpkinhead drools as it advances towards the altar. It picks up a large wooden cross and looks at it a bit puzzled. But then it's like, stupid cross! And just smashes it to pieces.
He said, this is what I think of your story. He was like, you really think I give a fuck about a cross?
Yeah.
I was this is for no one. No one is here but Pumpkinhead.
Nope.
It's for
He
him.
did it for us. And
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
I got a
Well,
lot of
we are-
enjoyment.
Because I'm like, honestly, he really should he saw where they went.
Yeah.
Chase them.
No, he took the slow way to stop and bust up this cross. It's just that this entire scene was based upon it didn't work out. We built this church, blah blah blah. Like none of that came to fruition.
Yeah.
Nope.
He did not give a fuck about the church. He did not give a fuck about the cross and the whole like standing your ground in the church. They
Yeah.
just fucking ran out. Like
Yeah.
this whole scene was
Pointless.
hilarious to me.
And if you think about it, the only information Bunt shared, we already know.
knew.
Yeah.
We
So-
knew already.
I'm like, what is this?
I loved it. I thought it was the best.
It's completely just superfluous.
yeah.
I died. This was the funniest thing to me.
But Ed has made it to the Wallace's place and bangs on the door with his shotgun. He screams that they have to stop it and threatens to blow the door off of its hinges, but he's flanked from behind by Ethan and his rifle, so he drops his shotgun. Mr. Wallace comes out of the house, telling Ed to get away from his home and his family. Ed does just that, leaving his shotgun behind.
Oh, they're next.
But they didn't.
It's okay, Pumpkinhead. Come on. Yeah, no,
But they didn't.
I mean, what can they do?
Yeah.
They're trying to save
well,
their.
you know, comfort me. You know, give me a glass of wine or something.
And then send me on my
and
way.
then, feed me. You know, let me sit by the fire, warm up. You see, his eyes are all red. You know what I mean? Give him some Visine. You know,
But
let
he's
him go.
like-
It's really the least you could
Yeah.
do.
I think their transaction ended with the feed.
Yeah.
I think. But Bunt leads Tracy and Chris through the scraggly woods to the spot near Bradley Mountain. They reach a bridge but find that the path is blocked by what I assume to be Chris's dirt bike. It's kind of undersold, but all the cars are flipped over as well.
Yeah.
But nobody really cares.
Nobody gives a shit.
But Chris tries to start the bike, and it sounds terrible. Just then, Pumpkinhead appears out of nowhere, brandishing the bike chain that I guess it removed.
Listen. This is when the movie took on a whole new extra corner for me.
Well, because it's like, It like looks
Literally,
at him.
not only do you know how bikes work,
Yeah.
but you sabotaged it, and now you're like,
Well, yeah.
that is fucking fantastic. That is so funny.
This is where the B movie has arrived. They're like, we got you with the grief and the...
Oh no, this one I was fucking. I was like, yes.
When I was
very
referring,
happy.
when I was referring up top about getting exactly what you think you're gonna get,
Okay.
this is the section that I was referring to.
Fair point.
Because once shit starts popping off, when this dude wakes up and evolves from his fetus state,
Right.
that's hilarious, dude. Like that is so fucking funny.
It's great.
But this is when Pumpkinhead just vaults Chris and the bike into the air, and he lands with a sickening thud. Tracy goes to help Chris, but Bunt pulls her away, and she really doesn't put up much of a fight.
She doesn't. Sorry, Chris.
But as they continue on, they bump into Ed. He tells them to come with him and leads them to his truck. Meanwhile, Pumpkinhead is just toying with Chris, who is still alive. It steps on his spine and then drags him down the road. But Ed takes Tracy and Bunt back to his house and they head inside. Once inside, Bunt checks in on Tracy, who says that she's all right thanks to him, but she's going to go outside to talk to Ed. We get this odd shot of Bunt sitting pensively.
Yeah.
There's somber music playing as well. It's like, all right. Don't know what that was meant to signify.
Bunt's taking this really hard.
I guess so.
It's like I contributed to this.
Well, that means he's going to die now.
Well, yeah, he's helping.
Yeah.
But Ed is working on something with some propane tanks, and Tracy approaches him. In tears, she tells him what happened to Billy was an accident. She asks if he can stop this or call it off. Ed straps on his flamethrower, lighting it up, and tells Tracy that nothing can call it off, but he's going to send it back to whatever hell it came from.
Or hear me out. Just give him the girl. Go tend to your store.
She wasn't bad. She wasn't Joel.
The faster we get this over with,
But
Pumpkinhead, go back to sleep.
This is the deal you've made.
Yeah.
Well, I guess JP's a man of his word.
Yeah. He's like, do I regret it? Sure.
Yeah.
But a deal's
Sometimes,
a deal.
Yeah.
You got to live with it.
Have you seen that thing? I don't
Yeah.
want him mad at me.
No. I've seen what it can do.
Yeah.
No, none of that. But Bunt sits alone in the candlelight, and the camera presses in on him. But he immediately gets jump scared by Gypsy, who is just looking for... Okay, I guess Gypsy just wanted to be pet by someone.
Yeah.
Gypsy is going through it as well and has gotten no attention.
No, that's true. I thought that Gypsy was maybe wanting to unburden himself of the guilt of his selfish actions.
He had no way of knowing that this is where we would end up.
I disagree. But one thing I do want to say is that the jump scare really doesn't work because Gypsy looks nothing like Pumpkinhead.
No.
Yeah.
The music wasn't even loud.
No.
It's just like a boy and a dog.
Even they were like, we know.
Yeah.
Okay? We know.
But Gypsy then begins to growl. It looks like Gypsy is showing his teeth, and I thought it was just like being racked with guilt.
Man, I got to tell you something.
Oh, God. It was me. I did it. You had already left with your grandpa. It was me. But out in the work shed, Ed becomes disoriented, clearly feeling the presence of Pumpkinhead nearby. Just then, after traveling down a row of candles at the dining room table, the front door bursts open, and we see that Pumpkinhead is standing there holding Chris.
Like a puppet.
Yeah.
In all fairness. There's this sound that comes up a lot whenever we see Pumpkinhead.
Right.
And do you remember in the Thing when we see the tentacles and it's like
Yeah.
that sound?
Yeah.
I feel like that sound is used here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no,
I can see that.
It's something that I think that they've used in other movies too.
It must be.
It sounds very. I'm like, I know, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
You can't claim this for
Yeah,
Pumpkinhead.
yeah.
But Pumpkinhead just throws Chris down, who attempts to crawl away. In the flashing light, Pumpkinhead creeps into the house, searching for his next victim. It rips a closet door open, but doesn't find anyone. Then it acts like it's leaving, but then returns with haste
Yeah.
to move clothes out of the way and find Bunt.
He's like, gotcha, bitch.
You thought.
Yeah. But Ed regains his footing, turning to face Tracy, his nose bloody and his eyes white. Tracy screams and runs outside where she finds Chris. Pumpkinhead then drags Bunt outside, but Ed rounds the corner with his flamethrower at the ready. Somehow, he gets some tubing caught on a nail and accidentally impales himself in the shoulder with a pitchfork.
Yeah.
That would be me.
But who loves a
already know.
pitchfork like that?
Listen,
It's like
desperate times.
Yeah, it's up. Yeah.
it's like putting a knife blade up in the dishwasher.
Yeah. That I don't.
And be like, whoops.
You're just asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Pumpkinhead and Ed lock eyes, and Pumpkinhead we see now is starting to look like Ed.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
When was this part of the deal?
Yeah.
I never heard this.
I was like, what the hell? Like, y'all have been hinting at it, but okay,
But
now
really?
now we're doing it.
It's not enough that he's feeling the shit. Like he's got to become Pumpkin Ed. Like it just seems like a lot. But Ed finally comes back to himself, tossing the flamethrower so he can remove the pitchfork from his shoulder. Pumpkinhead smiles as Ed rushes to his truck and reaches into the glove compartment to retrieve a gun. Tracy, however, scoops up the flamethrower and blasts Pumpkinhead to no effect at all. It walks right through the flames and grabs Tracy by the throat. Ed, however, cocks the gun, but then he holds it to his temple and we hear a gunshot. Ed stumbles out of his vehicle, collapsing onto the ground, and since they have some kind of psychic connection, Pumpkinhead does the same. But somehow, this isn't enough. Pumpkinhead lurches up and grabs Bunt by the ankle, holding him up. Tracy goes for the gun and looks over at Ed, and he reaches out to her, begging her to kill him. She fires at him, and as his life slips away from him, Pumpkinhead collapses to the ground.
So I'm a little confused.
Uh-huh.
Because Bunt wasn't on the list.
No.
I guess technically we've got this caveat now that it's anybody who intervenes in any way. So, it widens the scope or whatever. But would Pumpkinhead have kept going until Ed died? Or I don't fully understand.
I think he's killing everyone that's involved.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe even Ed, because he's fucking with him too now.
Yeah.
That's what it becomes unclear for me personally.
No, I agree. Because it's like, well, but you're also becoming Ed.
Yeah, you are Ed or you're going to kill Ed.
I don't, yeah.
I don't understand.
But Bunt checks on Chris, who is also there and in a lot of pain. The camera pulls back and Pumpkinhead suddenly bursts into flames.
That was just insult to injury.
Yeah.
That was unnecessary.
It made me laugh because she tried to burn him already.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, on my terms.
Exactly. I'll tell you when I can catch fire.
But later that night, we see Haggis at the old pumpkin patch graveyard. She places a corpse into the open grave on the large mound. But as she fills it in with dirt, we press in on a necklace around the corpse's neck. The necklace that Billy made for Ed.
Yeah.
We fade to black, and the credits roll. So, what did you guys think of Pumpkinhead?
I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah?
Yeah. Some of the acting and voiceover stuff, or like the dub, you know what I mean? It wasn't, it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoy Pumpkinhead, like the creature and the lore and all that. I wish they would have explained a little more in the movie.
Yeah.
And not having to watch the other ones, but I guess that's a way to get you to watch the other ones. But I did enjoy the movie. Just his creature design and the way he is able to get around, and it looks like he's moving really slow, classic slasher, just kind of walking around. But it doesn't take away from him being scary. You know what I mean? And yeah, he's thin, but he's big. You know what I mean? He's tall as fuck, and then he's a fucking demon. I guess my only thing that I could say a gripe about the movie was just kind of the story, or kind of not so much the story, but the way things kind of happen. And it's like, all right, like you said, one cut was just. That was it. That was the end of the scene. I was like, all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
He said for some reason.
Yeah.
Guess we're done with that.
A little of the repeating kind of things, telling us the same thing. We got it. You know what I mean? You don't got to tell us again. We're watching. It's pretty straightforward. But other than that, I can't wait to dive back into the series of these later. And this was if you haven't seen it, I'd suggest at least watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Giving it a one time and see if you like it or not. Check out the rest of them, or just kind of like, this is, what it was. I seen enough,
No, I agree. This was a lot of fun. I had more fun than I should have, I think. And I have an even greater appreciation for it after talking about it. I just have to specifically shout out that moment at the church, because that brought me so much joy.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. And how cool he looked.
He did.
And I know you mentioned something real quick. You mentioned something earlier about the lighting and everything. Where I really noticed it was when Ed was going into the barn, and he just had, I guess he was going in there to get the flamethrower, and he had just that lantern.
Yeah.
And all you seen was really where that lantern was lit up.
Yeah.
Or was pointed. I was like, cool. I feel like I'm there. You know what I mean? Or I'm like, okay, where's this? Fuck, he's going in. You can't see shit but that lantern. I was into the movie. You know what I mean? And I feel like that helped it, because if I was able to see everything really clear, it'd be like, oh, it's not that dark. You know what I mean? You really need that lantern? Like that? Yeah.
You're not in peril.
Yeah. But it's seeing how the lighting was, and then how it worked with everything. I really appreciated that.
Right.
Yeah, no, there were some really great shots. I think the music is really great. I think Lance Henriksen does a really, really great job of most of the time making Ed Harley feel like an actual person.
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead looks phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
The practical effects, phenomenal. They lose me at a lot of the repetition. I don't know if it was padding or thinking that the audience maybe isn't fully understanding what's going on, but there is a lot of over-explaining of some aspects and complete no explanation for others.
That's very fair.
This is just, it's a lot of fun. I had fun with it. I'm really glad that we covered it because it has not really been on my radar as something to watch.
Not really.
But I had a lot of fun. Is this the greatest film I've ever seen in my life? It's not.
No.
Is it completely well-rounded with a totally fleshed out story? It's not that either. But it's fun.
Yeah.
I think I was kind of surprised by this one.
All right.
Because it started out way different from anything I expected.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it kind of became closer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was odd to be a part of that, I guess, transition from one to the other.
Right.
I actually did like it.
Yeah.
I would say that this is a good, decent movie.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't graduate to great for me personally.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's just because there's so much that I would change or would have done differently.
No, yeah.
It's really not a bad creature feature.
Not at all.
I think I am just kind of left with some questions as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the ending alone, I think, is a really good ending.
Yeah.
And it sets up, you're like, oh shit, what does that mean? Is Ed Harley the new Pumpkinhead?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's kind of cool.
But,
Right.
But
he's
at the same
also a
time,
baby.
Yeah. why do I see his ribs? Why is he the empty man? Like, I don't understand. Like, what?
I'm confused.
I don't understand.
Well, remember when they first got Pumpkinhead, he was small too.
He was.
So you had to feed him the shit, the
So
Gerber to get him to grow.
Gerber.
And,
The Gerber.
Yeah.
This is just the process.
Right.
But how
So-
much time has passed? Like, did she go to that farm and collect Ed's like tiny corpse?
Yeah.
Like, and they left it there. Like, there's
Right.
a lot of questions.
So if Pumpkinhead lit on fire, did Ed light on fire too?
I don't know. Did he feel it, or is it only?
Why didn't he?
Is it a
Like-
one-way
Yeah,
street?
I don't know, man.
Like, Ed can only make Pumpkinhead feel pain, but Pumpkinhead's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, can't do anything backwards?
Nobody did though.
Did he like stab his leg and I missed it?
No, every time he did anything, Ed was like, "Whoa!"
Oh, yeah.
No,
So I
he
don't-
just feels the good stuff.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
They've
looked
not
like it.
explained
not
it.
explained.
But I mean, I don't know. It was fun, I think. But I mean, fucking, in 1988, Pumpkinhead, B movie.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
expect fun.
Oh, for sure.
And if you get that, that's good.
Yeah.
But I think we can go into ratings.
Yes.
For me, the positives really start with Lance Henriksen.
For sure.
Gives a great performance. I did read in that interview, they had said that in one of the earlier drafts of the film, after the first act, whenever he goes to Haggis and all that stuff, that was going to be the end of Ed. We were not going to see him again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The fuck?
And then I guess it was just going to be like a slasher film
Yeah.
from that point on.
He's like, "Well, my job is done."
I got the witch on board. Pumpkinhead's risen. I'll see you later. But I'm glad he's still here.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think he lends it. He keeps it grounded.
yeah.
because
if it's not grounded, then because I don't give a fuck about these teenagers.
No.
So I don't really care what happens.
Yeah.
Either I don't give a shit about them or I actively hate them.
Yeah.
Depending on which person it is. So
And
yeah.
neither of those are good.
Yeah, no,
No.
Pumpkinhead, do your thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
But I do love the idea of the folk tale, even if it's a bit uneven.
yeah.
I think the creature is fantastic.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You got Lance Henriksen and this creature, and those are really the biggest
For sure.
for me. Like you said, the music is good as well. It's a decent emotional story, even if we get told the damn story
Yeah.
Several times.
several times. But on the negative side, the tale really becomes a hat on a hat on a hat.
Yeah.
Because you think it's just about vengeance, and then he's got to deal with the guilt of having sought this vengeance.
Yeah.
But instead it's like, oh no, he can see this. Oh, he can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, he can also feel this. It's like, what?
Wait, what?
And then it's like, oh no, Pumpkinhead turns into him. It's like, what? Nobody ever said.
Pumpkinhead's like, "Now I'm Bruce."
It's like, when was that established? I was not told. But again, the end is cool in theory, but it still just leaves me a lot of questions.
Yeah.
The repetitive nature of the plot, which I think is really used just to pad
Yeah.
the runtime. And I gotta say, I know it's probably ridiculous, but I kind of wanted a pumpkin.
Yeah, that's not ridiculous.
I really wanted a pumpkin. But for me, on a scale from 1 to 10, Victims of Vengeance, I came here with the score, and I think I'm going to give it an extra 0.5 because I do think that the emotional weight added to the start of this film.
Yeah.
This film, it did not need it. Like they did that shit.
Yeah.
And it was actually pretty effective. So for me, out of 10 Victims of Vengeance, I'm going to give Pumpkinhead 6.5 Victims of Vengeance out of 10. It's a fun movie, but we got worries. But I'll now open the floor to you.
I agree with you about everything, really. Like the movie, the only thing for me is like the movie is what it is. You know what I mean? And I think the only thing that saves, like, which of course is Lance, but also Pumpkinhead.
Right.
And it's like, to me, it's like he looks so badass, and then it being practical effects, it's like, oh man, this is great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, the whole adding details to the, you know what I mean? Oh, the lore and everything. It's kind of like make up as you go. I get it. But I feel like she did warn him, and she told him, look, this path is only going to cause death.
True.
Yeah.
So this is, I feel like that's what she was telling him. Look, you're going to get your revenge, but at the end of this, you pay for it. So that's why he's the next Pumpkinhead. Okay, you did it. Now you replace him. He fulfilled his oath. Now it's your turn.
Mm-hmm.
He did what he needed. Now, when you're called upon, that's your job.
See, I love the way that you just said that.
What, explained it?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
I did not. I mean, like, I guess you can glean that from the ending, and I don't need to be spoon-fed. But the way that this story is told, it's like they just keep adding shit.
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel like even maybe Clayton had a necklace that we saw on him at the beginning, and then Pumpkinhead, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or like a birthmark on his hand or something, and then Pumpkinhead has a thing on his head. You know, anything that could infer.
Right.
This is what you saw when you were a kid, and now you're in this cycle now.
This is the powerful price.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Anything
yeah.
that could like connect that childhood experience besides the fact that he's just like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That's it. That's all we got.
Yeah, no, I just that's something for me. I wish they would have.
Yeah.
Just
maybe
fleshed out a little bit
just
better.
a
Yeah.
little more. Give me a little more of that so that we're not guessing.
Mm-hmm.
But for it does have a tiny soft spot because this is something that I remember from a kid.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I said, not necessarily the first movie, but Pumpkinhead, period. You know what I mean? I did watch the second one more than I did the first, but I feel like it's just the character Pumpkinhead.
Uh-huh.
It's like, I remember this motherfucker from, being scared as a kid. I was like, man, dude's crazy looking. But, I mean, because really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
Being
he
8
is.
years old
He
and
is.
seeing that, she was like, what the fuck is that?
That's a
It's
lot.
like, oh, man. But for me, on a scale from 1 to 10, Victims of Vengeance, I'm going to give Pumpkinhead a 7.5. I enjoyed, and what made it better for me was when he had the chain and he's like, psych. Yeah, I was like,
I was like,
yeah, he played dead for a minute and he's like,
Yeah.
bitch, get over here.
I
Yeah.
was like, he's hilarious.
Oh no, yeah. He might not be able to talk, but he is a demon.
Uh-huh.
He does know what the fuck's going on still. So I feel like if it would have been like a mindless killing or like a beast, it probably would have been a little more like, oh, okay, you're just killing because you're running on instinct.
Yeah.
But he's a demon. He knows what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So for him to play pranks and do all that, it's like, fuck yeah, there you go.
You got to respect
Yeah.
it. I agree with both of y'all. I think that we all kind of have the same issues narratively.
Yeah.
I love how he looks. I love Lance Henriksen's performance. I even love his kind of thinking better of the situation and trying to rectify it. On the flip side of that, Joel, I really didn't appreciate what they tried to do there. Like,
that was
honestly, that kind of pissed me off because I'm like, I did not forget. Like,
No.
you
Yeah,
really hammered it home that this dude's a piece of shit,
Yeah.
and then just flip the script. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be good now. It's
Yeah.
like, no, that bothered me. And it's really funny. I came here with the score. I still have that score.
Yeah.
and I swear when I sat down, I knew everybody's score.
Really?
And I've been right. Like, I knew that this was going to happen. So on a scale from 1 to 10, Victims of Vengeance, I am right in the middle.
What
I
the
gave
fuck?
Pumpkinhead 7 out of 10 Victims of Vengeance. I'm sure that people listening guessed that this, this is what I was gonna, I'm not special. But this was a lot of fun. And I expected fun.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the like weightiness in the beginning, but it is kind of jarring when that's dropped completely.
It is.
Well, I mean, I feel like it is needed because he just wants revenge, and he's like, I don't care. Give me my revenge. You know what I mean? Look what happened to my son. And then, like you said, once he realizes what the fuck he asked for, he's like, whoa,
and then he's grooving, reviving with Pumpkinhead, and then he's like, you know what?
Yeah,
this was a
shit.
fucking mistake.
That didn't feel good at all.
Yeah.
Well, that's all from us at Pod Mortem. What would you rate Pumpkinhead, and what should we watch next? Let us know on Twitter at the Pod Mortem. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook. Be sure to follow each of us on Twitter at TravisMWH, at Blood and Smoke, and at RealStreeter84. Please consider pledging to our Patreon and stay tuned until after the music for a special thank you to our Wendigo Getter patrons. And remember, while revenge may seem like the best option, it might be wise just to patch things up. Until next time. Thank you for staying tuned. We want to give a very special thank you to all of our Wendigo Getter patrons.
Woo.
Hey.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah.
A special thank you to
Chris Ontiveros, Kristen Lofton, Megan Martinez, Kimberly Bass, Sophie Hodson, Anthony Jerome M., Jordan Nash, Kent Morton, Guy 54, Lala Thomas, Travis Anissa Hunter, Miguel Myers ATX, Jennifer Perez, Pierre Lombard, Allison O'Neill, Carissa, TJ and Angie Bronson, Gabrielle Trevino, Spooky Mom, Andy Teague, Applin Ontiveros, Karima Rhodes, Antonio Huerta, Kimberly Kleindienst, Will Brown, Sydney Smith, Osvaldo Soto, Jonathan Booth, Bobby Holmes, Donna Eason,
JD Rizak, Molly Gerhart, Armand Spasto, Aaron Aguirre, Eggy, William Barry, Brittany Ramatar, Charity Oxner, Amanda Six, Mandy Rainwater, Eden, Jordan Roberts, Dylan, Melissa Sierra, Holly Bryan, Jordan Blevins, Liz Heath, Spencer Montalvo, Pancake the Panda, John Ramos, Michael Newting, Alexis Roberts, Dan Laveau, Itzy M., Gary Horton, Amanda Aliff, Leisha Olivier, Kate Lamp, Carlos in Sydney, Jessica Hunter,
Helena Rudder, Alan Johnston, Mariah, Livy Fun, Mandy M., Scott Troutman, Mozzie Bear, Brittany G., Dave Burke, Adrian Stakes, Craig Kowalski, Beth, Daniel McGinnis, Nick Spill, Emma Hagel Kissinger, Ashley Weidman, Angelica Cornelius Witt, Valerie G., JSL, Emiliana, Brian Glass, CB, Maya Noches, Taylor Santana, Will Lewison, Angelique, Smelly Poo Poo Head, Beth Bauer, Ben Coons,
Cookie, Esperanza J., Jace OKC, Joshua Rumley, Danielle Peralta, and Hannah R.
Woo!
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Unbelievable.
Yes.
We appreciate all your support, and we hope you all know that you are too gourd to be true.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Thank you. Until next time.